Cubelic in the morning. We are live. Thursday, March 13th on Jocks 94.5, SEC tournament underway. First full day yesterday. Don't know how many major surprises there were from day one, but attendance looked great. You had a couple competitive games. But GMAC, I don't know if anybody really surprised us with what we saw as far as who's going to push through and how yesterday. South Carolina goes down to Arkansas 72-68. Even without Big Z, really only going 17 minutes, 0 for 2 from the floor, did hit 4 free throws. Arkansas, 45% from the floor, 7 of 22 from 3. They had 4 players in double figures, so they did a nice job of spreading it around. South Carolina was just 39% from the floor. You're not going to win a tournament basketball game doing that unless you're Gonzaga or St. Mary's.
Whoa.
Well, you shoot combined 1 for
Why you got to bring them up
from 3.
again?
It's what happened. It was real. Texas takes down Vanderbilt. Trey Johnson, 19 points. Texas shot 46% from the floor. How about 25 of 34 free throw attempts for Texas yesterday? This was a game that was decided largely by teams going to the free throw line. Mississippi State took down LSU. This really, no surprise. I don't know if we exactly thought it was going to be this way as far as how it would go. But we did talk about Trey Johnson, Josh Hubbard being guys that those teams needed to probably rely upon to be able to go out and advance, make some things happen. Mississippi State 91-62. And it was interesting to hear early in the broadcast how bad Mississippi State had been from behind the three-point line in conference play this year. Then they go out and go 15 to 34 from 3. Josh Hubbard, 9 of 19, 6 of 12 from 3, 26 points, 12th 20-point game this year for the Mississippi State guard. That's the 4th most by a Mississippi State player the last 25 years. They now have 5 straight wins against LSU, which is the longest streak against the Tigers for Mississippi State since 94 through 99. But that was a strong shooting performance from Mississippi State. It's pretty obvious that LSU was going to let that be there, and Mississippi State took advantage, and they'll move on.
I think when you look at Mississippi State, that was a pretty impressive start to the conference tournament, the tournament season, if you will. I mean, that was about as dominant as I've seen. And don't get me wrong, LSU's an average basketball team at best. At this point, it was as if they were kind of going through the motions. But I don't know about you, man. Mississippi State, has your perception of what they can do changed based on that performance last night?
Hard to judge it against that team. Hard to judge it against LSU. But I will say a lot of times in these conference tournaments, in this postseason play, we see just certain teams that have more success in an individual building. Other teams just, for whatever reason, don't see it or don't shoot well at a certain spot. And if Mississippi State's got that, that's a big advantage moving forward. I mean, that's a big opportunity for them because they could potentially run into a Missouri team that's not shooting well. Mark Mitchell might come out cold, and Josh Hubbard might be the guy still. And next thing you know, you got an opportunity to move on. So I'll say this. I don't love the matchup for them specifically because they lost by 27 to Missouri on February the 1st. It was their second largest loss of the year. So that part doesn't give me hope for Mississippi State. But if Missouri's not going to shoot the ball well, and for some reason they come out cold, then yeah, that could give them that opportunity to potentially push through. So you get Arkansas and Ole Miss today, which we didn't finish up yesterday quickly though. Oklahoma took down Georgia 81-75. I don't know what would have been or would not have been a surprise in this game. Both of these teams kind of been up and down a little bit this year. Oklahoma has not been good in conference play, but they were great outside of conference play. Georgia has a nice couple wins. They have some bad losses. They played some teams better than them tight. So at 20-12, I don't know what I thought was going to happen. Oklahoma came in with everybody talking about them having to have a win or two just to get into the tournament. So maybe that's what we probably should have focused on and said they're going to be leaning on that to go out and try to find a way to make sure they're in the big dance. Jeremiah Fears did that. He dropped 29 last night, 8 of 16 from the floor, 4 of 7 from 3, 9 of 12 from the free throw line. So Oklahoma pushes through. And that's with 3 Georgia Bulldogs going in double figures, including Silas Demery going for 24. So Georgia will get Kentucky tonight. Arkansas, Ole Miss will tip us off as far as the SEC tournament today. That'll be your first matchup coming out for the SEC tournament in Nashville. That's at noon on the SEC network. Then you'll get a rivalry game. Texas A&M. 2:30 p.m. on the SEC network.
Battle of the Bones
It just
on the
means
hard
more.
court.
Battle of the Bones.
I don't know. Something I figured. I'm thinking like brisket femurs.
Femurs.
Battle of the short rib.
Probably better.
Battle of the brisket.
Have you had barbecued femur or quad or thigh?
I don't
or
know.
Hamstring.
I don't know the anatomy of a cow.
Have you had barbecued ACL?
Probably.
Barbecue patella.
Nothing like a meniscus.
It's called a hot dog.
Fresh off the grill.
It's probably in there. The hot dog. Yeah.
Yeah.
Barbecue PCL.
As someone that's torn a PCL, doesn't
glute.
have one in my left knee. I'm not going to consume the PCL. That's a big boy. That's
The glute is an actual part of barbecue, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
What do they call that?
It's called the butt.
Is that what a Boston butt is?
I don't know.
Cow's hiney?
Probably.
I forgot
They're not a rump roast?
we're in school time. Is that what it is?
I'm asking.
God, we got some people that are mad driving around right now. These guys don't even know the barbecue.
Well, until I have to actually,
Yes, I know two guys never been on the dang grill.
I've had someone try to teach me how to skin a deer 17 times. Let me tell you how many
felt
times
like we're talking about cows here.
I know, but it's what's the difference?
Totally different animal.
No, come on.
Taste a little bit.
How hard can it be?
One has a kneecap, one doesn't.
Maybe, but I do know this. Like, I've had someone try to teach me how to skin a deer like 17 times, and it's the sheer quantity of all those times watching a deer get skinned. I'm not sure I could ever do it myself. I just don't have the stomach for it. I'm soft. I get that. But I also, for whatever reason, when I watch it, it just doesn't land in my brain. I can't like remember. You like cut around the wrists and then you like, I don't know. I don't know how to do it. So I would think that doing a cow is probably the same thing. I know that I've had back straps and then they're tasty. I don't know where the fillet is though. I'm not sure I could find it.
Okay. If you had to figure it out, you probably could. I think you'd get
What's the line in Tommy Boy? I really want to say it right now, but not in school time.
Looks like John, John was right. The rump would be the high hiney, and the round would be sort of the mid to low fanny.
Wait, hang on. So the high hiney?
That's what it looks like on this diagram that I pulled up from the Best Stop supermarket.
The what?
Best Stop supermarket somewhere, or Virginia Boy's Kitchen, either one. I got a bunch of pictures here.
All right.
You've seen that picture of the cow divided up like it's the map of the United States?
Yes, that's true.
Your this doesn't tell me where the fillet comes from though. Your round's going to be about mid fanny. Shank is going to be hamstring quadish.
Where's the sirloin? I think fillet's from
sirloin. Sirloin is like
no, hang on. Fillet's
L5S1.
Fillet's from the tenderloin.
Back of the vertebrae.
Back strips.
Tenderloin right under that.
Tenderloin.
Top sirloin. And then bottom sirloin. That's going to be about your rear rib cage-ish. Short loin right above that. Actual ribs are going to be up like middle, back ribs. The chuck's going to be
ribs are where?
The chuck is going to be the shoulder. And then your neck is actually going to be the neck.
What?
Right on it.
Convenient.
Right on it.
You skipped over ribs too fast. Explain to me exactly on the body where that is.
That is about middle of the back down to the midsection. Just picture a half a McDonald's sign going right over that cow. Middle.
For a McRib?
Golden arch. Yes, exactly what I was thinking.
You just cut it, just a little slice, a little square.
That's the one. Your short plate. Anyone?
Is that a cut of meat or is that something I can order?
It's both, maybe, I assume.
Short plate, also known in some areas as the meat and three.
The three or the meat?
Not sure I need to tell. Not sure I know.
The shank is going to be kind of the...
I think it's called the shank.
That's going to be the upper quad hammy of the front legs. And then the short plate right behind that, kind of like your chest.
Yeah.
And then the flank is going to be your lower belly.
What about like the hand muscles in the cow?
Those are called the hoofs.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the things that are in the pink colored water in the gas station in Mississippi, I think.
Oh gosh.
What?
Yee.
Isn't that what those are? They gotta let them soak?
I don't know.
I assume so, yeah. That and hot dogs.
And your brisket,
dogs.
by the way, is your underneck.
Really?
What do you call that?
Your gobbler.
That too. Yeah.
Your beard.
God, we are not Southern for not knowing this.
We are not.
They
You're the one
make-
that's
they
from
should
here.
make us go
I
to-
have an excuse.
They should make us go to the Big Ten Network for this.
Big Ten. We're probably north of that. We're like
Here's
on
the-
TSN.
Matt,
We're not knowing any of this.
here's the thing. If you're just going to serve it to me, why should I need to know where it's from? It's not my fault.
Yeah, I have not had to take apart the cow.
Yeah, nobody's ever sat me down when I've ordered a filet, say, not until you tell me where it's from. Because by God, I'd have known where it was then.
Yeah. If you just give me the meat, I can pretty much figure it out
We'll
from
be
there.
fine.
Yeah.
We will figure that out. I still don't have filet, though.
I would be
for that.
at a loss though if I walked into the Publix or the Pig or wherever I was getting the meat that day, Costco, it doesn't really matter. I would be at a loss though if the butcher looked at me after I requested a cut of meat and said, "What part of the cow is this?" Or I can't say fillet. Tell me which part of the cow you'd like.
The flank? No, where on the cow
I'd
did
like
that
the
come from?
L6 tenderloin. Sound good?
Got to get the first rib,
Yep.
the one that catches all the fat before
Correct.
it moves down the body. Yeah.
Yes. I
That's
really
the one
don't
I
care
need.
which one you give me. I'm going to douse it in Dale's. We'll figure it out. So I really don't need to know. Just give me whatever. But I'm a little over the discussion of all these little hind parts because I'm not going to lie to you. When a shoulder's a shoulder to me. You can't sit there and tell me a shoulder is not a shoulder. Didn't you say what was the shoulder again?
Shoulder is, I got to get off of this, the live view, like of the real one.
Wait, you have a live view like in a butcher shop?
Not the diagram, but the actual photograph of.
Ah,
Shoulder is not on this diagram that I've moved over to. So you'll have to figure that out on your own
ugh.
because I lost it. I don't have it anymore. Sorry.
Did you ever have it?
I thought I did. We discussed it. Now it's gone. We'll have to get Barbecue Billy tweeting that into the show. Let us know how terrible we are for not knowing this.
Oh, Cowboy Carl.
I can't believe how domesticated you and I are. We've lost it all. And I'll tell you what, if world goes to heck in a handbasket, we are in trouble. If I can't take care of my own cows, Meredith really does have aspirations of some point raising cattle. I'm like, look, I lived in
Does
Texas
she
for a
not
long
watch Yellowstone?
Oh yeah, no,
It's
she has.
expensive.
I think that's when it started.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean where they couldn't afford to keep their ranch because they didn't make enough money?
because if
herding
you
cattle?
if you literally steal one cow, you're like in great shape.
Whole thing's gone.
Yeah.
Just get it all out of here. Okay.
I mean, I think it makes some sense just with the stuff they put in your food and stuff. I mean, I don't know. But I'll be honest with you. It would be a cold day in heck.
She's taking that whole people who have their own chicken in the backyard for their own eggs way too far.
Oh, no. We have people
We
that,
should just have our own cow. And then you can just go out there and get the steaks yourself.
yeah. And then you get them
What's
back,
next?
get the cow
she want
back
her
in the
own
weight
bacon
room
too?
and regenerate.
She wants her own bacon too.
No, I'm not sure she wants to do pigs.
If we want calamari, we should just have an ocean-based lake out back. You can just get your own.
How hard can that be?
We can
Why
have
not?
saltwater and freshwater stuff, just two. Why not?
If we had a stream that was flowing, we could just have our own salmon. You could go get it yourself, freshly stocked.
That's it. Freshly stocked. Piece of cake.
Just throw them upstream every now and then, once a year.
I do think, though, at some point it would be really fun to have cattle.
I actually disagree.
You don't like it?
No, I just don't think it would be fun. I think it'd be a lot. It feels like it'd be a lot of work.
Yeah, I know, but I kind of want to ride around on a horse and have a cowboy hat
you
and
don't.
like, yeah,
You
100%. I'm not going to do anything.
You
It's all
don't.
for show.
Yeah, wouldn't you have to move?
You don't.
'Cause-
That's what I'm saying.
Is that allowed?
You're going to have to actually do it. You're going
No,
to
they
have
have.
to.
I mean, Mountain Brook is known for its cattle raising.
No, right. Uh-huh.
Yes, it's basically the Argentina
It's their
of Jefferson
it's their
County.
third property. Second, vacation. Third, work, ranch property.
Yeah, you need. So you have some type of water-based property, some type of mountain-based property, and then when you're really wanting to blue collar it, you just go and you have the work property. That's about right. That's on brand.
You can see like the real cattlemen are there. And he shows up. And he's like, I'm coming in today, guys.
Hey, man.
They all take their hats off and kick their feet up. Have at it there, boss. Show us how it's done.
Yeah, please wrangle.
Good luck.
Yeah, wrangle some of these Broncos, will you? You could also, just have I feel like I would be doing like a TikTok with me on there on the back of a. I'd go bareback, obviously.
That goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
TikTok and ranchman.
And ranching.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm doing it.
Watch this.
That's it. I'm going to go find me some land in West Texas, and we're going to raise cattle.
Man, good luck.
Nice cattle.
Good luck. Sounds fun. All right, we will get back to basketball at some point, but we're also going to talk some spring football. Coming up today on the show at 8 a.m., Ben McCollum is going to join us. Drake, head basketball coach. They are going to the NCAA tournament. 9 o'clock, Dwight Perry is going to join us. Wofford, head basketball coach. If you're looking for one reason and one reason only to listen to Dwight Perry, he has a player who shoots free throws underhand. That might be enough for you to tune in right there and just listen as to how and why that actually became.
And he's not small.
No, he's the biggest player that they have. He actually could pass for a rancher if you wanted him to. And then Wimp Sanderson going to move to 9:30 today. An SEC coach tied Wimp Sanderson in something yesterday. We'll tell you that when he joins the show at 9:30. Coming up next, though, Austin Hannon. If your quarterback who you are expecting very good things from is not looking good in spring ball, does that make you no longer a national championship contender? We'll ask Austin that question about a certain college football team who we think is a national championship contender next year. That question, when we come back. First, I want to tell you about our friends at Train. You guys know flu season's still here, still going around. Pollen season right around the corner. Carpenter bees are here. Got one yesterday. Make your home healthier with Train's Clean Effects Home Air Cleaner. Removes up to 99.9% of airborne particles, including those that cause virus. 100 times more effective than standard air filters, 8 times more effective than HEPA room filters. Find a dealer near you at Train.com. It's hard to stop a train. College football playoff contender spring practice next on Mac and Cube in the morning. So apparently a national championship contender's quarterback didn't look good. The Clemson Tiger spring practice is underway. And Cade Klubnik, a guy that we've talked about on this show, we feel like has an opportunity to have a big year. We feel like Clemson is going to be in the mix, not just for the playoff, but maybe to potentially make a deeper playoff run. But things might not be going as expected thus far for Clemson in spring practice. Austin Hannon joins us now. He covers the Clemson Tigers for 247. And Austin, apparently it's been somewhat rough for Cade Klubnik this spring. Was that just a one practice, one scrimmage deal, or should there be real concerns about the Tigers offense?
I think it was more of a one scrimmage concern. So the Tigers, ending this week, they're going on spring break as of the end of yesterday. But yeah, Dabo Swinney was pretty honest with a lot of different portions of his team yesterday, which maybe was a little different, I would say, from last spring, when it seems like, over the last few off seasons, he's maybe coddled some of his players and said, he's kind of kept Cade Klubnik on that string the last few years and said, he's coming. And then he finally, breaks out last season. I think he's just trying to be a little bit harder on him, maybe a little this offseason, keep a little of that motivation in the tank that he had last year. But I really think this is really a one-off, one scrimmage kind of thing. The Tigers go on spring break next week. And I don't think he felt like the whole group looked very motivated, starting with his quarterback. And so it wasn't that surprising to hear him get called out just because of how they envisioned him next season and how he's supposed to lead this team, that if he doesn't bring the right energy, in the middle of March, then why should everybody else? I think that was kind of the big point made there by Swinney. So, he went as far as to say he thought his quarterback's focus was on his teammates' trip to Cabo next week, and not necessarily on the inter-squad scrimmage that maybe he wanted his focus to be on. And it wasn't just his quarterback, but he got after some of the young corners last year that we kind of saw get burned a little bit in trash time in some of the ACC games they played. He said none of those guys are ready to play still. None of them. I mean, he said any name, call them any of them out. I hope you print this. None of those guys are ready to play. And so a similar situation they had last year before obviously firing the defense coordinator. Obviously the defense was the problem late last year, really all of last year, if you want to be honest about it. And so you bring in Tom Allen. I think the energy on the defensive side of the ball is getting better, but yeah, I mean, quarterback, corners, everybody's getting called out early in spring practice here. And I think it might be a little bit of a good sign for fans just because of what we've seen from Dabo the last few years. And it's pretty obvious that he's not going to be content with not winning at a high level anymore, especially with the money that Clemson's spending and the recruiting they're doing and the team that they have for this year. The expectations are high, so I think that he's expecting that, and it starts with his quarterback.
Is this kind of a one-time thing, or has he at times had some lapses in focus in the past?
Not really. I think that there's been, there have been some practices where he's gotten onto Klubnik a little more than others. But, I mean, for the most part, this is a guy that, he's very high on and that he respects as one of the top leaders of the team and a guy that he expects a lot out of. So I think that when you get a little bit, I mean, I'm sure, Greg, you got some of the similar stuff from Coach Saban back in the day when, you're winning a national title and then maybe you have a bad practice the next year or a few weeks later. I mean, the standard doesn't change. And so I think when you've created expectations for yourself like that, when you don't, live up to them or even exceed them, let's say on the way to spring break, like maybe Dabo wants you to, you're going to get a little bit of a talking to in public like that to the media. So I'm sure it's not something that's got past Cade. I'm sure he's looked at Twitter. I'm sure he's seen what his coach said about him yesterday. And I'm pretty sure that's exactly what Swinney wanted. So we'll see how it transitions. And if you remember that spring game last season, that's when Cade didn't really show up very well that day. On a day when the fans showed up to the stadium thinking that they were going to get a new look at the team last spring, it ended up being the kind of a walk-on quarterback that stole the show. So this isn't the first time we've seen it, but I also wouldn't go as far as to say, we've seen all offseason people putting Klubnik in their top 5, top 3 lists for quarterbacks next year. I don't think we need to get too far ahead and say that won't be the case because of 1 or 2 or 3 comments made this spring, but I definitely think it's something that he's trying to stay kind of on his behind to make sure that he doesn't, have a lapse this offseason and take a step back instead of taking another step forward.
Austin Hannon covers the Clemson Tigers for the 247 Sports Network, discussing their spring practice now, as one scrimmage at least did not go the way that Dabo Swinney wanted it to. You mentioned that sort of what this team is costing, how different that is. Can you take our listeners further to that? We obviously have kept up with what Dabo was not doing and now apparently are doing a little bit more of. What is the difference realistically in the roster count and maybe the spending for Clemson?
Yeah, I mean, Clemson's it's kind of crazy. I mean, it's where we are in college football now. But just about every program is going to have some millionaires on their team. Clemson's no different. They're kind of getting into the swing of things. You could say they were a couple years behind maybe, and not necessarily in getting the money going, but I think that there was a little bit of reluctance maybe a few years ago to kind of get in, with the program and kind of take that step forward that we saw a lot of other programs doing, hiring GMs and kind of getting that money situation under control and ready to use it, when it was going to be legal. Maybe they were a little behind in that process. And so I think that now that they've caught up, they're starting to see some of those benefits. And, it's been 2 off seasons in a row, right? That there have been teams that they have looked at Clemson roster and said, hey, can we get some of those guys and maybe see if we can, sweeten the offer and make them leave that place, not necessarily because people didn't want to be at Clemson, but, 3-4 lost seasons stacking up and maybe a guy like a Peter Woods, a guy like a TJ Parker, maybe they would listen to some offers elsewhere in the SEC and stuff like that. But I think Clemson got really serious after they lost to Texas and said, look, we got something special here next season if we can kind of keep this all together and keep moving forward. They did exactly that. I mean, I think they lost 5 players total to the transfer portal. They brought 3 in. There's 5 they lost. I mean, 3 or 4 of them were not playing very much. And so the thing that they've been able to do to keep this roster together, to spend the money to keep the roster together, has been impressive. And I think the whole revenue sharing as we kind of move towards that this summer, I think it's going to even be more so that way for Clemson and have an advantage in that. So I think that they felt like they were a little bit out of place for a couple of years, but when Sweeney and everybody kind of got invested in this whole idea of kind of moving the program towards, where we're going in college football, I think everybody's kind of gotten aligned on that.
What is about the depth that they have or need on the defensive line? I know that was something that was a bit of an issue last year. Haven't seen them a bunch. Felt like there was a pretty big drop off when those starters went out. Have they adequately fixed that problem with the portal addition and with some young guys that are being developed?
Yeah, I think starting out on the front 4, it's going to start with injuries. I mean, that was a big thing last year. You remember Peter Woods missed a few games. Devontae Capehart, another guy that they were counting on last year, missed a lot of football. Both of them are back this year, and so you look at the starting 4 on the line, and then Tom Allen and Dabo Swinney are very aligned on the fact that they want to play 4 up front. You've got TJ Parker, you got Peter Woods still, you've got Devontae Capehart, the guy I mentioned, who's got to stay healthy, but he's a 5th, 6th-year player. And then Will Help from Purdue is going to fill in that other starting role on the defensive end, I believe, and that's going to be your front 4. Now, depth-wise, if guys start getting hurt or if guys aren't performing, I mean, the depth is still a little bit of a question. You still got Tate Denhoff. You still got Jaheim Lawson probably as your secondary guys on the edge. But I really do like what they have up the middle, especially with Amari Adams, the 5-star from South Carolina, joining the class or joining the team this offseason. He's going to kind of be a role player on the defensive tackle. They still got Vic Burley. I mean, a lot of Stephylon Green, a lot of the guys that kind of stepped up in that role last year to take some of those reps, they're all really back. And so I think they're just waiting to see kind of the next step from a lot of those guys. And they've got really good coaches on the defensive front that, when the media has gotten to see some spring practice, you see what those guys are all about. And they expect the most out of the guys that they have in their room because Clemson's been built on the defensive line for years. And so, if you're not strong where you've been built for years and where your program has had all that success, it's hard to kind of get back to that point. And so it is a big deal that they're better on the defensive front and don't get gashed like that against the run like we saw against a lot of the time last year. So they got to be better up front, but I think the secondary is probably the bigger concern on defense, just with a couple of missing pieces and losing a guy like R.J. Mickens on the back end. I think that's where the big question mark is on defense right now.
Austin Hannon of 247 Sports joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline, talking Clemson spring practice. So for you going in, where are the bigger concerns for this football team that need to be addressed through spring, through fall, that maybe could prevent Clemson from getting to the playoffs or making a playoff run, winning a national title?
Yeah, offensively, I think it's really offensively the only hole injuries permitted is at running back. And it's not necessarily a question. I mean, Dabo talked about yesterday that position group. They obviously lose Phil Maffa. Jay Haynes, who was the backup running back there last year and has some nice speed to him, has some nice flash. He tore his ACL in Charlotte against SMU, and so they're kind of waiting on him to get back. They're hopeful that he'll be back for fall camp, but he's not participating this spring. And so Adam Randall, a guy that was playing wide receiver, a big physical target that's kind of been around for a few years, not really busted into the wide receiver room with the other guys like Antonio Williams and Bryant Wesco and TJ. I mean, it just kind of got crowded there. And so you saw some guys transfer, and Randall didn't transfer, but he just decided he was going to switch to running back. We saw him play a little bit of running back in that Texas game. They like what they're seeing out of him after that position switch, now that he's kind of practicing more in that role. But there's this other guy named Gideon Davidson, who's another true freshman. Sweeney believes he's the best running back in last year's class. And it's just really hard by next fall to not see him as the number one guy. But offensively, I say all that to say I think this is going to be a team that throws the football a lot. I'm talking 40 times a game. We saw it against Texas. I think Klubnik had 45 attempts in that game. And we kind of saw that, okay, maybe this is the identity that this offense should be about, because once they started kind of throwing the ball all over the field, next thing you know, that game turned into a one-score game late in the game. And so I think that this year they're really going to focus on throwing the football because I think that's their strength. They've got a great offensive line. But defensively, that's the big question. It was the big question last year. I think the personnel is not too different. And so your question of how does that improve next year, we'll see. I think the big thing is the person in charge doing it is the big difference. Wes Goodwin obviously let go after the season after 3 years. He was kind of a internal hire by Dabo Sweeney. He was an analyst, and after Brent Venables left, he kind of felt like, if we don't, upgrade this guy's role, he might leave with Brent off to Oklahoma. He gets the DC job. It doesn't go very well. And so now you got Tom Allen in there from Penn State. And I think there's just been a whole different mentality change over the last couple of months. And I think that it's going to go a long way. It's just, seeing the energy out of Allen compared to Goodwin in practice, it's night and day. And so he's essentially the head coach of the defense. That's what Dabo's called him. Another thing that is very odd to hear Dabo Sweeney say, just because of how he runs his program, and it seems like he's always the figurehead of the whole operation. But now we got Tom Allen stepping in and kind of being a secondary option there. So I think they've got some of the talent to do it. It's not going to be the best group that Allen's going to have in his tenure here because he's going to recruit and get some of the players he wants. But I think he can make it work with some of the guys he's got just based off of his talent as a defensive coordinator alone.
Finally, looking at this season, I think playoffs, anything less than that would be a big disappointment. But what does success look like? National championship, being in the mix, getting to the Final Four. What do you think Clemson fans would be pleased with, knowing the expectations coming into this year?
Yeah, I mean, the expectations, I would say that they would like to, Final Four national championship. I mean, if you're looking at, the odds lists for next year's champions, if you're looking at, the rosters around the country, I think Clemson fans feel like their roster is up there with everybody else's. In terms of on March 13th, right now, looking across the country, a lot of teams are losing a lot of players, and Clemson's returning 8 starters on both sides of the ball. That's something that Dabo Sweeney has never done during his 17 years at Clemson. He's never had 16 starters total back. And so I think the expectation has to be, national championship, Final Four, the playoff at a minimum. I think when they kind of reached the playoff last year, that was, okay, they hadn't done that in 4 years, but now that they're back in the playoff, they kind of tasted it. And I believe that's what he said on the first day of spring practice was they were in the kitchen, they smelled the cookies in the oven, they just didn't get to have any of them. That was the way he described last year's run, if you want to call it, which we all know it was kind of weird to begin with, getting into the playoff after losing to South Carolina. Of course, Miami then loses, and then they beat SMU on the walk-off kick. So, yeah, I think scraping into the playoff like that is not the goal for next year. I think that was a happy part of last year, and I think the fans were glad to get back in the playoff. But, yeah, I think the expectations on campus with everything that's going on, the guys they brought in, the guys they have back, I think the expectation is national championship or pretty darn close to it.
Austin, great stuff, man. I appreciate the time this morning, getting us updated on Clemson spring and what it might look like for that group the rest of the way and then to the fall. We look forward to having you back soon.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
You can follow Austin on Twitter at AustinHannon_. find his work at Clemson 247 site. And it does bring up a few questions about a team that we may have fewer questions about than a lot of other college football playoff contenders. We'll discuss what it might mean for your quarterback to struggle in the spring, be it a scrimmage, multiple practices, all of it. You have to wait for that conversation, though. One thing you never have to wait for is your dental care.
That's because Family Dental has you taken care of. They're the urgent care office where you can be seen the same day. Several locations to make it easy on you. Call them, make an appointment, and they can get you in, whether it's an emergency or routine care. Free teeth whitening that now comes with the routine care. Extended patients of all ages, and several of which, regardless of what insurance plan you are, they can probably figure it out. That's for sure. Go and see them in Hoover, Homewood, Fultondale, Alabaster, and Trustful. It's Family Dental, 874-9605. That's 874-9605.
All right, we'll discuss quarterbacks struggling in the spring. What exactly does it mean? Next on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. How concerning should it be if a quarterback struggles during spring, be it one spring scrimmage, one practice, multiple practices, the entire spring? What should you make of that? Obviously, we'll hear about it at multiple spots. We're hearing about it at Clemson, at least for one scrimmage. And where should your attention go? What should your focus be if and when that takes place? We heard a little bit about what's happening with Clemson, their quarterback situation this spring, GMAC. But when you do hear about a quarterback that struggles in a scrimmage, in a practice, Where immediately does your brain go referencing that specific team?
Well, I think it goes to a few different things. I think the obvious thing for a lot of people to do is to have a little panic. Like, oh my goodness, what's wrong with our quarterback? That's the first reaction. You look at the stats, you release the stats, he's turning it over. Oh, he's not focused this year. Oh, he's got problems this year, whatever it may be. I don't think that's what the takeaway needs to be. He doesn't have to tee it up right now. It's not perfect right now. The offense is going to take a little time before it gels right now. I'm not worried about it. Now, I do think there's some positives that could come of it, and we'll talk about those in a moment, but if you're pressing the panic button, I think that's way too aggressive at this point.
Also, would it not give you a little more confidence in what your defense may be capable of at that point?
Exactly. That's the key. Like, everyone always looks at this, oh, the offense is getting their butt kicked in spring. We got problems. No, maybe your defense is just way better than you realized, right?
Yes. Also, I don't think I could ever not believe that coaches design and lean things in scrimmages and in practice and in other situations to allow better opportunity for success on one side of the ball or the other.
Yeah.
With what they allow from a movement perspective, from a pressure perspective, situationally, where they put you. It could have been a deal where they had not turned the pressure free all year and just kind of forgot to mention it, really.
Right.
And then all of a sudden they get in the scrimmage and here comes pressures out of nowhere. And the offensive line and the quarterback's turn. Oh, we're live, coach. We're bringing pressure. Like you didn't think you're going to have to face that.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden you are. They want to see how you react to it. And you're 9 of 28 and 3 sacks and ball got tipped and got intercepted. Looks terrible, but you know good and well how you set that up, how you aligned that scrimmage, that practice.
Of course.
So, if you hear about a team having a scrimmage and we worked mostly 3rd and long, 4th down situations, 2nd and long situations, and it was windy, quarterback didn't have a good day, receivers had a couple drops, you're probably going to think offense is not good.
Maybe
but
not.
That's leading towards the defense to allow them to have success. How many 2nd and 2s did you give us? How many 3rd and 1s did you give us? If it's none or not many, that leans defense. So
yes,
a lot of these are going to be slanted to allow one side to have the better chance to be more successful.
For sure. And also, I think when you look at it too, this might be what Dabo Swinney wanted. Like, he wanted an opportunity to rip his offense. Like, so they are intentionally scripting plays that are worst case scenario plays, and he wants to see how his guys respond. Maybe things have been too easy for him up to this point. People, they press the buttons all the time, man. Like, Coach Saban would legitimately get mad when the offense had a good practice. Like, that wasn't a good practice because his focus at that point was on the defense, because he felt like the defense was the best way at that time to win games. I mean, like, it was his philosophy at that point. Defense wins championships. Offense needs to play ball control. We're going to get short fields. We're going to win time possession. We're going to kill people with just constant and dominant physicality. And that was how he scripted practices. So if the offense did well, it was not usually a good thing for how the practice went overall. And there were times when you could be like, oh gosh, man, they're giving us everything we want. Like, I'm getting pressed man and we're have all our man beaters up today. Well, why do you think that was? Because he wanted the defense to play bad. It was a really fun. It's really fun now looking back at it. You didn't know about it at the time as much, but now getting older and more perspective, you understand exactly what they were doing.
Yeah, for those wondering, they didn't tell you these things either. Like this one's something that they made you fully aware of. And that made it a little bit more difficult going out because you situationally didn't know what was going to be allowed, what you were going to do. Oftentimes didn't know if the back was going to be live, and then all of a sudden back's live, quarterback's live, different things like that. You turn that on at the last minute, and practice has a completely different feel when things like that take place. So I thought it was interesting what Austin said about how he had sort of shielded or walled off his thoughts on Cade Klubnik up until this spring and had protected him, so to speak. I think that showed, to me, that makes me think that Dabo believes that he's really close to being big time. and that now he needs to test him, and now he needs to make sure that he's going out of his way to push him to be a better leader, to do a little bit more things of that nature. So actually, if I'm a Clemson fan, I actually like the fact that my coach is going public and calling my quarterback out.
Yeah. And it's not like he's a young guy. Like as a young guy,
He wouldn't be doing it if he didn't think he could handle it.
Correct. This is a different animal. It's a veteran. He's been around. He's had success. He's had failure. He can handle it. I think it's a good approach. I think it's the right approach. And for a veteran, guy's going his 4th year, 100%. This is how I'd approach it.
I don't think there's any doubt. So it's we'll continue talking quarterback competitions and kind of what's going to happen with those. Tell our listeners about Polar Bear Services, though.
Well, Polar Bear Services is their one-stop shop around your home. So many things that they can do for you around the house. It really makes it easy. I know that the first time I have an issue that pops up, whether it's plumbing, whether it's electrical, first call I make is to Weston and the guys at Polar Bear Services. They do system tune-ups. They do duct cleaning. They need to make sure that your system, your comfort system, is checked by Polar Bear Services before it gets put into overdrive. We know that there's unpredictable weather. We know that the AC is running during the day and the heat might be running at night. It's a challenge for sure. So highly recommend Polar Bear Services to come out and get things ready to roll as your system is put to the test. They can also do whole home generator installation as well. With these storms that are coming through, the possibility of losing power is a problem, which is a huge issue from a productivity standpoint. Keeping all your AC running, all that stuff, you can stay comfortable if you get one of those amazing whole home generators. They're all over Alabama. So remember, if you have a problem with your electrical, plumbing, heat, or air, just pick up the phone and call the Bear. It's 205-497-BEAR. It's 497-BEAR.
If we were to take our best shot at some SEC quarterback battles, which direction would we go now that we're into spring? We'll do that next on Mac and Cube in the morning. So we heard from Austin Hannon talking Clemson, Cade Klubnik. That quarterback situation seems to be in good hands. Some in the SEC are not, and maybe we wonder what they're going to look like. Ben McCollum, by the way, is coming up at 8 a.m. So in our next segment, he'll join the show to discuss the Drake Bulldogs making their 8th NCAA tournament appearance. Ben is the head coach of the Drake Bulldogs. We'll talk some NCAA tournament with him, as we'll try to have multiple coaches on here before the NCAA tournament begins. Jacksonville State, 65-56 last night in the CUSA quarters. They get to 21-11 on the season. They will advance. And then today in the SWAC quarterfinals, you'll get Alabama State at 16-15, taking on Texas Southern at 15-16 at 1 p.m. on ESPN+. SEC quarterback battles. Is that really him?
That's him. How mad are you?
Coming straight off the breakup over the weekend. Carson Beck live at the
they broke up?
Oh yeah, it was a big thing on social yesterday.
Oh no. He's got the cut. He's got his hair in the back. Got like a fresh trim.
Does he have parts in his neck?
Yeah,
there?
no, in the right behind his ear, he has like 2 lines.
Yeah, but that usually happens like right behind, like if you went from the eye straight back over the ear, like that's where Vanilla Ice did his parts. He has parts in like down in his lower neck, like where your hair stops on your neck.
Yes.
What are we doing?
Like the Bosworth?
I don't know.
No, Bosworth didn't even do this. This is
Bosworth
down here. He has parts like right here.
I thought he did like on the
parts in
temple.
his neck. That's where it's supposed
like
to be.
Directly behind his earlobe.
He's just making that up. He's just saying, "Watch this, guys."
Or you think
I'm a quarterback? I can do this.
Is there a possibility that?
Apparently, he was sending Snapchats to another girl over the weekend while in Nashville with Cadaver.
Cavender.
Same thing.
Cadaver is not the same thing as Cavender.
In my brain, it is.
Cadaver is quite
Specifically
literally
with their TikTok accounts.
Their
all dead.
Their relationship is a cadaver.
It is.
A Cavender was involved in the relationship.
Correct.
You think she was mad because he didn't protect the household?
You must protect this house.
What is this?
You let my cars
is this
get
the
stolen?
TPC Sawgrass? What is this?
Is that when it
tournament is
started?
this?
Maybe it was an inside job. Maybe he stole her car. Interesting. Yes, this is actually called Sawgrass.
And so this is I used to play this course on Tiger Woods all the time. I remember that bunker
Heck
right
yeah!
there.
Did you go deep?
Oh yeah. So he's in the pro-am, or is he just walking around?
No, he's walking around. This is the real tourney.
He's walking around there interviewing him.
Yeah, just walking around. He's a Jacksonville guy.
I don't really care. You think the people like you, mega golf nerds, like my father-in-law, who are watching at 7:54 a.m.
What would you
on
like
ESPN
to watch? You want to see Stephen A. and Orlovsky debate the Cowboys offseason?
What I'm saying is, think about the audience watching this right now at 7:54 a.m. Central. What is this, a practice round?
No, this is a real round. This Thursday.
Whatever.
Wimp's on the show.
4 rounds.
Yeah.
This is a warm-up round.
This is
really.
the 5th major.
This is the easy pin selection. Pin placement is what this is.
No, that's probably tomorrow.
I'll say this. I have seen more hieroglyphics on letters of names in this tournament than I've ever seen in my life.
That's because
we got an O with a line through it. We got an O with the degrees over the top of it.
It's an A with an O on the top. It's called Oberg.
We just started making these up. Like, did we just start saying we got to start putting these tildes on these names?
No, it's just all the interesting players are on Live now, so we have a bunch of European guys. I
thought they merged.
No,
I thought they were giving them money, so they said they could play both now.
Nope, can't do both.
I like that Liv gave them money to stay alive and then said, you still ain't taking our players back.
Nope.
We're still using them over here.
They are making the players wear pants now on Live.
No.
Yeah.
Can they still play music in their cars riding around?
Yeah, what's next? No music?
Are they still shotgunning beers on tees?
Pat Perez is.
Okay. But who wants to hear from Carson Beck at this term? Like, what are they asking him that's interesting right here?
Are you excited
other than about his breakup over the weekend, which probably would have been the most interesting question you could have asked him.
Are you excited about the season, Carson? Yeah, man. I'm happy to be at Miami.
That's not how he sounds. Come on.
You can't have that haircut and sound like that. No, I'm sorry.
It's not? Yeah, it's going to be good. I like my Lambo.
Even stolen?
My Lambo.
Hey, let me ask you a question, because I had a friend whose car was quote unquote stolen recently. Is your car stolen if your keys are left in it?
No.
Or is it borrowed?
It was given away.
It's given.
Yes.
If you find it and it's not total, do you take it back?
Shouldn't you know? I mean, you kind of had similar.
Yeah, I'd take it back.
Stolen?
Yeah, I'd take it back.
Your keys weren't in it.
What are you worried about? Someone like doing something bad in the passenger seat?
Well, I am now.
You guys are sickos.
Your mind's in the gutter. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Hour 2 number underway. We'll go back to some of those SEC quarterback battles. We ran out of time discussing nonsense. But we're going to talk NCAA tournament now and talk about a basketball team that is heading to the NCAA tournament for the 8th time, winning the Missouri Valley Conference tournament. That's 3 straight Missouri Valley Conference tournaments for the Drake Bulldogs. It's the first time that's happened since 93 through 95. And Ben McCollum, head coach of the Drake Bulldogs, joining us now on the Higginbotham Hotline. Coach, first, congrats on your conference tournament win, on making it to the NCAA tournament again. What was it about this team late that sort of came on that put things together to be able to make that run in the MVC and get that automatic tournament bid?
Yeah, I thought even early in the summer that we were going to have a good team. We just needed to put it all together. And then, we had a couple losses throughout the year, 2 in a row in particular, and it kind of regrouped us essentially and refocused us, if you will. And then, late in the season, our defense started to get to where, we could defend anyone. And, I think in postseason, the most important, the games naturally slow down anyways. And so you need to be able to defend in the half court. And, we were able to do that, and we started to expect to win, which certainly helps, and obviously made a nice little run.
Coach, finding your way defensively, is that something that they finally begin to understand the messaging? They finally begin to understand maybe some of the importance you're putting on it? Or does your team sort of figure out they're good at that, and then sort of subconsciously they place more of an emphasis on it and realize, hey, we can win games this way? How does that come together on that side of the court?
Yeah, it probably starts in recruiting. We like to recruit tough kids that have a kind of relentless mindset. I don't think anybody loves to play us. It's probably a lot like going to the dentist sometimes, and it's just not very fun because we're just going to keep coming at you in waves defensively. Then our guys eventually take a level of pride. So you get the right kids, then you take a level of pride in getting stops and making it very difficult for them to do anything. And then eventually it turns into, with our defense, we tell them what to do with their offense. And so, whereas a lot of teams just guard actions, what we're trying to do is tell you what we want you to do with your offense. And our guys create a mindset where they get stops, they expect to get stops. They love the toughness aspect of it. And, eventually they start to learn all the little nuances of our defense, and it's able to get pretty good.
Coach, it's pretty amazing looking up your story and the time spent at Northwest Missouri State and the championships won there at the D2 level, now transitioning to Drake and having a tremendous year. But what took so long? Why is it, we talked to a coach the other day that had come from D2 as well, and what takes so long for these bigger programs to acknowledge, man, there's good basketball being coached at the D2 level, and then when given the opportunity, many cases, you guys have flourished. What takes so long for that recognition to occur?
Yeah, I think the hardest part, specific to mine, it was probably 5 or 6 years I probably could have taken the job. I think I wanted the opportunity to be able to win at a high level, and there's only so many jobs that you can win at a high level at this level. At Division I, that are resourced well enough that it's, not a low major, it's a mid plus, and so you can win, you can beat some high majors, and then you can also make an NCAA tournament, you can continue success. So my story is probably a little bit different in regards to that. I think people create a bias for different hires, and what I mean by that is, hey, I need a Division I assistant. Hey, I need a guy that has head coaching experience at Division I. Or hey, I need, this, that, or the other thing. And then maybe one Division II coach fails, and all of a sudden there's a bias created that all Division II coaches are going to fail. Or, in this case, now it's all Division II coaches are going to succeed. And it's really just not the case. I think just like recruiting a player with athletic directors and search firms and whatnot, it's still about trusting your own eyes and trusting your gut in regards to who they think is a good fit for their program, who they think can coach, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's probably more what you see. My guess is you're probably going to now see guys from the Division II ranks get hired because, of the success that, I've had, Josh Schertz, quite a few schools have had. I think you see San Diego guy was a D2 guy. Obviously, some of my good friends. Chris Beard is a D2 guy. Grant McCaslin's a D2 guy. There's a lot of guys that have coached at that level that have had a lot of success.
We're visiting with Ben McCollum, Drake head basketball coach. He has the Bulldogs in the NCAA tournament at 30-3 this season. Been a remarkable run. We don't know a lot about your athletic program. We don't know a lot about how your basketball program is supported, is being run. And we're seeing a lot of unique ways that teams at your level are finding to sort of separate themselves from other teams. What is happening behind the scenes to maybe aid with your success? What's the athletic department doing? What have you had to go out do that maybe folks that hadn't paid a lot of attention to your team might not know?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it was obviously recruiting. And I think now athletic departments, the most important part is personnel retention, meaning, you need to retain your coaches and then you need to retain your players. And so anything that goes towards that is what schools need to invest in, so specific to us, it would be an NIL, it would be maybe, better meals on the road. It would be make sure that you have good charter flights, anything that makes it comfortable for those players to want to continue to stay here. That is what needs to be invested in consistently, because relationships will take you far enough. And then eventually there is a component of, I want to be here. I also need to make sure that I have the resources that I have to be the best player that I want to be. And so for us, that's our biggest investment, is making sure that we can retain assistants, making sure that we can retain players. And anytime you have success, the cost of that goes up because, the eyes are on us. We have multiple ESPN and CBS and national televised games. And so people are paying attention. So you need to make sure that you can continue to keep people here.
Well, other big schools are paying attention too, Coach. I mean, it's not, it's that time of year where the coaching carousel starts to spin. And anytime someone has a real breakthrough at the level that you're at right now, opportunities will be made available to them. And I know that I'm sure your agent is trying to create leverage or whatever that circumstance may be. So when evaluating other opportunities, what are things that are of the highest priority to you?
Yeah, for me, I don't know that I'm in evaluation mode per se. I think I could probably speak on what a good job looks like at this level and even at the Power 4 level. And again, it all comes back to making sure that you can retain the players that you have on that roster. And, specific to this job, the other part of that is, do you have an athletic director that you enjoy coming to work for? Does he allow you to be yourself? Meaning, can I build this program exactly how I want to build it without question? And the athletic director here at Drake has allowed me to do that. We took 4 Division II guys, and I'm sure he probably had a lot of questions from donors and the community and whatnot. And then, our schedule wasn't done till October, November, and my staff wasn't done till September. And so, there was probably, and we took 12 guys. We only got 12 guys on our roster, and we only have 9 eligible to play right now. So, I think anytime somebody takes a position, you have to look at, one, your administrator, does he allow you to do it, or he or she allow you to do it the way you want to do it? And then Brian allowed me to do that, Brian Harton. And then are they resourced enough to retain players and retain staff? And, that's what we have here at Drake.
Coach, your leading scorer also leads the conference in scoring. Bennett Sturts came from Northwest Missouri State as well. Freshman of the year there. Did you anticipate him having this kind of success? What has he been able to do to sort of ease the tension and allow this early success for you?
Yeah, he went from a second-team all-conference Division II player to the player of the year. So I don't know. I knew he was good enough. I thought he was, probably, sometimes he's proving it. He's probably a fringe NBA player right now, and I think eventually he will be an NBA player. And I thought that when I had him. I thought that when I recruited him. It's just sometimes it takes kids a little more time to develop. And unfortunately, in the transfer climate that we have, kids are not allowed to develop the way they want to. And because, they transfer too soon, or they pick the wrong program for the wrong reasons, and et cetera. Well, he picked the program that he thought would do the most for him. And I feel like we have. I feel like we've given him everything, and he has done everything that we have asked. And he works, and he's competitive and all that stuff. But he's obviously meant a lot to the start that we've had, and he's an elite basketball player. And I think the higher the level, the better he gets, because he understands how to play basketball with intelligence, with feel, with IQ, all those different things. And so, you see the result of that with the kind of year that he's had.
Looking at this next week, Coach, before you get ready to tee it up next week, what are some of the biggest priorities for you here in the next couple of days to make sure that your team's prepared?
To continue to get better. I think sometimes people stall out in their development and how they prepare and all that stuff, and okay, we just got to keep and maintain. And it's maintain means go the other way. And we don't want to maintain anything. We want to get better. And that's what our whole goal is. This week leading into everything is we want to get better. We want to grow and see if we can improve on some of the things that maybe we struggled with in the conference tournament.
Coach, we always appreciate you taking extra time. I know this time of year when you're going to make the tournament, everybody's looking for you to come spend some time with them and do an interview here and there, but you hopped on with us and we appreciate it. It's been a crazy year for you guys. First college basketball team to 30 wins, 3 straight tournaments. It's impressive to see what you've done. We wish you the best in the NCAA tournament and appreciate you joining us this morning.
Appreciate you having me on, guys. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. Ben McCollum, Drake head basketball coach, joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham is your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services. Just if you are wondering if this is a team that you might want to pay a little extra attention to once the brackets are set. Like I said, first college basketball team to 30 wins this season. First 30-win season in Drake basketball history. Coach mentioned their defense, and they pride themselves on that and take extra pride in that. They held each opponent in the MVC tournament under 55 points. 3 straight games holding opponents under 55 or less. That's the longest streak since 2021 for the program. So they can play defense and obviously know how to win games. So they the unfortunate part, Greg, is like you talked about with that break. They came in on a win streak of 4 games, now won 7 straight, and then you have to take a week off, or a week and a half off. So, and you don't know who you're going to play for a while. So it's just a little bit weird, but you'll take the rest as well.
It is a benefit, though, to McCollum, who is, as of this moment, the favorite to become the next head coach at Indiana. So interesting side note there and it's the reality. If you have a good year or 2 years or 3 years at a mid-major like Drake, you're going to be able to parlay that into other opportunities, just about whether or not you take them. We've seen several that have turned them down. Porter Mosier, for example, at Loyola Chicago, turned a ton down prior to ultimately making the leap to Oklahoma a few years after kind of leading that program in success. So we've also seen a place like Wichita State, their head coach, I'm blanking on his name right now, but he said no forever. And ultimately, found out why. But you look at some other places, man. I mean, Nate Oates, a handful of others that have had great years and then transitioned to the next level at a big Power 5 job. So it'll be really interesting. He's only 43 years old, but has been a head coach for 16 seasons. It's amazing. Got 4 D2 national championships. And I think will probably be the next head coach of Indiana at the end of this tournament run.
Yeah, Greg Marshall at Wichita State. You mentioned the resume of Ben McCollum, the Drake basketball coach. For those that do not know, 30-3 this year. He is 422-94 in his career as a head basketball coach. That's 82% games won. 422-94. He's 32-7 in tournament games. He has 4 D2 national championships, 12 regular season titles, 5-time Division II Coach of the Year. So, guy obviously knows how to win. There's zero doubt about that. So, there's no surprise that he would be on lists as candidates for big coaching jobs when he's done what he's done, because he has won an absolute boatload of basketball games. And they'll be a fun team to watch in the tournament, too. Because, like he said, we like to make teams uncomfortable with how we defend them. We keep coming at you in waves. And as we know in a lot of today's basketball, there's not a lot of elite defense being played in a lot of different places. So just keep that in mind when you're filling out your brackets. And this one comes down, the Drake Bulldogs. 3 straight MVC tournament wins, 8th NCAA tournament appearance. And Bennett Sturts, who we mentioned, he not only was the Conference Player of the Year, leads the MVC in scoring. Obviously, the team as well at 19.1 points per game. He can shoot. And so they'll be an interesting team to keep an eye on when you're talking NCAA tournament time. So we'll move away from basketball for now. Dwight Perry will join us at 9 o'clock, the Wofford head basketball coach. They're also heading to the NCAA tournament, but we'll switch back now to our quarterback conversation in the Southeastern Conference. If we were to take our best guess on some of these quarterback battles, who's going to win them? Who ends up being the guy? Will there be surprises at some schools that don't know exactly who their quarterback's going to be just yet? We'll discuss all that and more next on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. We do have some question marks about SEC quarterbacks coming up through spring. multiple SEC schools, spring ball now underway, but there will be some questions that won't be answered. When does it need to be answered? When do you need to know who your quarterback is with where college football is today, really? Because this used to be the big secret coming out of spring.
Uh-oh.
You didn't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody who our starter is. And then it became, you remember this? Name the starter so he can start being a leader. Go ahead and name him as soon as possible. Like the bowl game's over, a week later, Coach so-and-so comes out. Jimmy's our starter. He's the guy. He's going to be out there pushing him in practice that coaches aren't allowed to be in.
We got him.
Now it became portal era. It's my or. Other or. Maybe an or. Possible or. Could be an or. So if we're in a weird spot in college football where you want to know who your guy is, you need to let him compete. But at the same time, you don't want to lose a guy that could end up being your starter. I feel like most of these are fairly easy. Texas is going to be Arch Manning, right? We talked to Roddy Nabulsi a little bit earlier in the week. Georgia just getting underway. Is this one done?
No. According to him, it's not. I think it is.
You think that Georgia knows who their starting quarterback is right now?
Yes.
And it's going to be Gunner Stockton, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Okay. You're not going with the
If trying to run the ball is the most primo reasoning for advancement, I think that's a pretty good place to start. And with all due respect, and I mean this with all due respect,
usually means you're going to disrespect.
I have not seen a lot of prep Connecticut football. But
Stanford Steve would like a word.
Exactly. I have not seen a lot of prep Connecticut football. Pretty big jump from prep Connecticut football to the SEC. I don't know a lot of guys. How many guys have played prep Connecticut football and have been really, really good?
Why do you call it prep Connecticut football, but you don't call it Alabama prep football or Georgia prep football? Like you're trying to make it sound like more McManus.
It's prep school.
Like you're trying to make it sound more.
It's like a
Greenwich, Connecticut.
It's a boarding school. It's like a prep school.
All of it, every one of them.
Yeah, it's the prep league is different.
Or just where this guy went.
Prep league is different than like high school.
So it's IMG.
Basically.
I think they actually go to class in Connecticut.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not dogging him. He might be great, but he would be the anomaly. Tyler Van Dyke's the only other one I can think of off the top of my head. And he's talented. But when things get hard, someone tells me things weren't very hard in Connecticut.
Do you think you could spell Connecticut correctly right now?
Yes.
Go for it.
Do we want to give someone else a chance because it's a lock?
No, you're the Rhodes Scholar finalist.
CONNECTICUTT.
That is incorrect.
That is incorrect. One too many T's at the end.
No, one T then.
Yeah.
Close enough.
Connect.
You thought I'd forget the C in the middle of it.
I thought you forgot your key to your lock that you just gave us that you would spell that correctly.
Connecticut.
In which we called the locksmith and proved you wrong. No,
it's just a matter of whether or not you want to use two T's at the end. It's not incorrect. I don't care.
Which one do you think is more dominant? Choate Rosemary Hall, Brunswick School, or Avon Old Farms? Which one would you least like to play in Connecticut prep football?
Well, I know people that went to Choate. I know people that went to Avon Old Farms.
And Brunswick.
Based on our conversation in the first segment of the show, you'd fit right in.
I don't know Brunswick. No, Tessitore.
With wanting to become a rancher.
Tessitore's family went to Choate. I believe the Kennedys did too, maybe? Maybe not. I don't know.
The Brunswicks have been dominating bowling.
I don't know Brunswick. Now? Yeah. I don't know that one. I believe Avon Old Farms where Tyler Van Dyke went. Maybe. But Avon Old Farms are like right next to Bristol. So yeah, we have a lot of
Ryan
friends.
Puglisi, Old Farms, Avon.
Yes, correct. Right next to Bristol. So you know people from Avon Old Farms.
I don't know if that means that I know the high school players that played there.
Doesn't, but you know people who have sent their kids there. For show. For show.
Nonetheless, you feel like the Georgia quarterback situation is done. Maybe we need Stanford Steve on just to talk Connecticut boarding school football.
Maybe you should. I think I'm not sure our audience is wanting that. And Puglisi, I've seen him throw. Throws are fine. I think he's got talent. I think he's a talented kid. But I don't know if he's going to be in a position to potentially close that gap, because there was a gap last year. They felt really good about Gunnar Stockton. Really, really good about him. So unless he fell out of favor with his performance in the game against Notre Dame, which I called the game, he shouldn't have fallen out of favor. The guy made a lot of nice throws in that game, 2 of which were significant drops. If his left tackle knew how to block, it'd be helpful as well. I think, and you look at how he performed against a good defense, I think he did everything you could ask him to do.
Would you like to hear 247's all-time football players in Connecticut since 2000?
Christian Wilkins
is number 2.
I'm surprised that he's number 2.
You held me here. Antaj Hawthorne, Hamden, Connecticut, class of 2001, defensive tackle that went to Wisconsin, number 1.
Hadn't seen the tape.
I haven't either. Do you want to take a guess at number 3?
Tyler Van Dyke.
No.
No idea.
Aaron Hernandez, Bristol Central. Jermel Lewis, class of 2000, went to Iowa as a running back, would be number 4. Luke Reynolds from Cheshire Academy. Tight end that went to Penn State. He's there now.
Luke Reynolds is going to be good.
Kari Fort from Stanford. That's where WWE is, right?
Stanford, I believe. Yeah, they're Stanford or Greenwich.
2010 Penn State outside linebacker. Chris Clark, Silas Redd. You'll know that name. Penn State running back. John Sullivan, Ryan Puglisi.
How many of these guys were good?
Josh Jobe, Cheshire Academy. See?
How many of these guys were good?
Wilfredo Abar, class of 2021. He's at Stanford. He's an edge, apparently.
How many of these guys are good?
Benedict Ume. Olas Alman. See? Allenan at Alabama. The Loomis Schaff School. You got 2 guys from Bama on here, and you're acting like they don't know how to play football.
How many of those guys play?
Tyler Van Dyke's ranked 19th on this list. Drew Pine.
Oh, gosh.
Number 20. Played at New Canaan.
New Canaan.
Same. Tyson Pumachan
has had a nice career at Temple.
Those are the only ones I've heard of.
See, like, there's a lot of things that people do well. I get that. But
me pronunciating Connecticut prep high schools is not one of them.
I'm going to be honest with you. If I need to find a football player, I'm probably not going to Connecticut. If I got to find one, I'm not going there.
Jeez.
I'm just not. Man, I got to find
the best one's there.
I'm going to roll the dice and say the best one's not there. I can name more notable players in one class of Tennessee than I can in 25 years of Connecticut. And Tennessee doesn't even have good players for the most part.
Second.
As far as quantity,
you can't just say Tennessee doesn't have good players.
As far as I didn't say Texas. I didn't say Georgia. I didn't say California. I said Tennessee. So as far as sheer quantity, much, much less players that are high level in Tennessee than there are in those 3 states, in Alabama even. Like, I mean, population, as far as high level quality.
What about Michael Oher? Golden Tate, Chad Pennington.
I'm not saying there's not good players in Tennessee. I'm saying there's not as many in Tennessee.
Whit Muschamp.
I can name more kids in Dallas-Fort Worth. If you'd like me to take Tennessee out of it, that's fine. I can name more kids in Dallas-Fort Worth that are game changers in this recruiting class than I can in 25 years.
Corey Moore.
Than I can in 25 years of Connecticut football.
John Hanna. You disrespected John Hanna's name.
You're going back 50 years.
You said there's no good high school football players in Tennessee.
I said quantity.
Boo Carter? Walter Nolan? You don't just nap at practice and not think that you're one of the greatest.
I said quantity. It's not about individual anomalies. I'm talking quantity. That's why I adjusted since you got all offended by Tennessee.
I don't need Tennessee on my back.
It's not. We're not
that.
taking shots at their. I'm saying they don't have as many good players as Georgia. Oh my God, what a shot! They don't have as many good players as Texas. I'm saying sheer quantity of players from Texas, Georgia, Dallas, Fort Worth. There are more impact players coming out of Houston this year that will play college football than in 25 years.
Wait a second.
Of Connecticut. 25.
Wait a second here. Hold on 1 minute.
It ain't hard.
Who's recruiting Ty Cobb and where is he going to sign? I need to know. We got a point guard playing for the Stars Basketball Club in Tennessee, class of 27, 6'2", named Ty Cobb.
Ooh.
Is he his great-great-great-great-great-grandkid?
That would be really unfortunate if he wasn't.
He is a 6'2" point guard in a 27 class. He attends Upperman in Tennessee. Sounds right on par there with
upperclassmen?
Connecticut. Plays basketball for Stars Basketball Club. I have to subscribe to Prep Hoops to see his profile, so I guess we're never going to get to that.
Does your Prep Hoops subscription come with Connecticut?
Y'all can have prephoops.com. There's your plug for the year.
Yeah.
Sorry, not subscribing. You want to send me a login, we'll talk about you more, but you're not getting my money.
Seriously, I have to take a bet right now. Right now, you get 25 years of Connecticut high school football, or you get 2026 Dallas Fort Worth. Which one are you taking?
Probably the 1 year from Dallas.
Okay. 1 year of Atlanta, Georgia, or 25 years of Connecticut.
I'll take half a year from Atlanta.
Okay, done. So the mid-year enrollees.
When do we get to Dade County? Because I'll take a third of those also.
Perfect.
Instead.
You know what?
Actually, might take one player.
Let's do this. I'll give you 3 years. I'll give you 3 years.
By the way, who is the one in the list that you would take over any other one from any other year?
Aaron Hernandez is a good player.
Right, but I'll pass.
Well, yeah, knowing what you know now.
Sure, but I do know what I know now.
Okay,
I've done my
fair
homework.
enough. We're talking strictly.
We recruit the individual, Greg. We don't just recruit the player.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
We talk to the guidance counselors. We actually talk to them.
Florida did. Yep.
Well, hey, I run my program different than Urban.
Uncle Herbs?
Yep.
I think you probably should run it different than him.
We have different guidelines here.
Makes sense to me. But
we know who runs our asylum.
I honestly, all right, so I'll give you 1 year Tennessee or 25 years Connecticut prep high school football.
Oh, I'll take Tennessee.
1 year?
I get Ty Cobb. 1
year. Look at their players from this year.
Right now?
No, go 5 years ago. Go 2019 Tennessee recruiting class. 29, not Tennessee, the
state.
school.
Yeah, no, state. I get it. Yeah.
So I'm just curious. I don't know. But I'm taking the 1 year from Dallas Fort Worth. I'm taking the 1 year from Houston. I'm taking the 1 year from Miami. I'm taking the 1 year from Atlanta. Shoot, I might take 1 year from. Oh, I'm definitely taking the 1 year from Baton Rouge.
Cool.
I'm definitely taking the 1 year from Monroe, Louisiana. Definitely taking the 1 year from LA, obviously. Definitely taking the 1 year from Cincinnati.
Cincinnati?
Yeah, Cincinnati.
Is that deep?
Yeah, they're good. They got good high school football. Real good.
I'll take Compton over Connecticut.
That's LA.
Yeah.
Kinda. Well, if you just say LA, you can get Long Beach Poly, you can get Compton, you can get all that. You can get all those. You're all good.
Where do I get Mater Day?
Mater Day is Northern California. That's Orange County.
Take that. Take them.
That's
when do I get DC?
You can have DC. You want Virginia
over Connecticut for sure. Take Virginia Beach over Connecticut.
Virginia Beach, yep. Hampton Roads, no doubt. How about Charlotte?
No idea.
Pretty good ball. If you want to include Fort Mill too, that's southern Charlotte, northern South Carolina. Pretty good ball.
I don't know how to go to like a certain year from the state of Tennessee. This is like impossible to navigate. I can't figure it out. So,
best city for high school football.
We'll discuss that on the other side next on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. You may be proving yourself right on the state of Tennessee, which I don't think anybody was trying to compare it necessarily to California, Texas, Florida. But we have a couple of years that we will run through here shortly. Tell you about how it looks, how it has gone there from a recruiting standpoint, and ask the question, if you could recruit one city only, what city would that be? Anywhere, anytime. But that's the only one you could get. Still a lot of flu going around. Don't want to get that. Plus pollen season right around the corner. Make your home healthier with Trane's Clean Effects Home Air Cleaner. Removes up to 99.9% of airborne particles, including those that cause virus. 100 times more effective than standard air filters. 8 times more effective than HEPA room filters. Find a dealer near you at Trane.com. It's hard to stop a train. 2018 top football recruits in Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Number 1, Cade Mays.
Good
4-star, went to Georgia. Max Ray.
He didn't finish there.
No, he went to Tennessee after that.
That had a bit of an awkward running down there.
Ray, 2.
Who?
Greg Emerson. Master Teague.
I remember Master Teague.
Jordan Davis that went to defensive end that went to Alabama.
Didn't Jordan Davis go to
Different one. This one was 6'5", 238. Cam Johnson, Jackson Sermon, Jalen King, Alante Taylor, Jalen Williams.
Taylor was a good player.
Joseph Norwood, Walker Culver, Jerome Carvin, Jeremy Banks, Jalen Baker, Cam Jones.
I remain steadfast in my assessment.
No one doubted that part. It's just it's kind of surprising to see.
Tennessee, for what
2019 number one player, Maurice Hampton.
For what Tennessee should be, as far as personnel, they're not. I don't know why that is. I don't know. Why.
Number 2, Eric Gray. 3, Bill Norton.
Eric Gray was a good player.
Eric Gray was a good player.
Bill Norton was
just finished at Texas.
Yeah,
he
he's
had a good career.
Yeah.
Arizona and Georgia.
Yeah.
Joseph Anderson, Kane Patterson, Christian Williams, Jackson Lampley, Woody Washington, Melvin McBride.
Woody Washington had a good career.
For a top 7 player in the state.
Oklahoma? He had a good career. He's been playing the NFL.
That didn't say bad career. Just
put it this way: Tennessee beats Connecticut.
2014. Boy, they missed on this ranking. Number 1 player in the state, Jalen Hurd. Number 2, Josh Malone. Number 3, Todd Kelly Jr. Number 4, Derek Barnett.
Yeah, Derek Barnett was a good player.
Number 5, Alex Bars. 6, Charles Mosley, Emmanuel Smith, Michael Sawyers, Rashawn Gaulden, Jason Robertson, Thomas Richard, Trey Herndon. Okay, one more from a little bit more recent.
Tough year.
2023 Tennessee top players in the state of Tennessee. For 2023, number 1, Caleb Herring. Number 2, Kenny Minchie.
Went to
quarterback at Notre Dame.
Went to Notre Dame.
Aaron Carter is playing linebacker for Tennessee now.
He's a good player.
Shamar Porter, wide receiver at Kentucky. Ty Lockwood, tight end in Alabama. Chance Fitzgerald, Bryson Sanders, Marcel Reed. Number 8, Brock Glenn, Max Carroll, Aiden Green, Luke Brown, Justin Brown, Jacob Page, Chris Parson.
So they're getting a little better.
London Humphreys.
Yeah.
Hey, London Humphreys was 16th. Hell, I might take him over all those guys. I mean, I'd actually throw him the ball, though, instead of just put him on my bench.
I'd take Aaron Carter. I'd take Aaron Carter, number 1 over all those guys.
He's a good player. Fast linebacker, obviously.
I think he'd be a real good player. Very productive. But I look at it, I mean, Tennessee's getting better. More and more people are moving there, obviously, so that helps. But Tennessee is an underwhelming state when it comes to high school football talent. It is a little surprising.
So if you could recruit one city, and one city only for the rest of the time, who would it be?
As much as this pains me to say, Houston.
It's a good one. It's up there. Ahead of Greater New Orleans?
Yes.
What is your cutoff in Miami-Dade? Like, how do you separate that if that's the city that I choose?
I think Miami's got great personnel. I mean, you can't really go wrong.
I just get the county?
No, you get the county. The county works. You can have the perimeter.
I think I'll take that.
I think you get the whole metroplex. You know, you get the whole metro area.
All right, so you get the Houston metroplex, the Dallas metroplex, the Miami metroplex, the LA metroplex.
Correct.
The greater DC area.
Yes.
New York City.
You get the tri-state.
Or greater Atlanta and the perimeter.
There's so many. I'm taking Houston. I'm still taking Houston for a few reasons.
I think I might go New Orleans, greater New Orleans.
Is that counting Baton Rouge?
I don't
think you can count Baton Rouge.
If you can ride a bike from BatonRouge to New Orleans, I think that's the same recruiting.
It takes you a day.
No, it took. I know someone who did it in like 4 hours. You could walk it in a day. So therefore it's the same recruiting landscape.
Yes. For all the people that are walking from Baton Rouge to New Orleans.
Because I need University Lab if I'm recruiting that.
Can't have it.
Why?
Because it's not part of the metro.
It's on my campus though.
It's not part of the metro. can't.
What if it is
We're gonna allow
literally
Monroe?
connected to my athletic facility, but it's not in the other city?
I don't know. All I know is I'm taking Houston, partly because of I think the culture of football in Texas is unrivaled.
Okay.
I'm telling you.
It just means more.
You just sit there and tell me it doesn't.
I don't know.
How many guys from Alabama?
Just because you have a $7 billion high school stadium doesn't mean that the players are better.
I never said the players
We
are
have
better.
an
I say the
indoor
players.
facility.
The players care more. I've seldom
And
met.
that makes them better recruits?
Oh, it doesn't make them worse recruits.
No, but
Dallas, you're a little tapped out. There's too much money there.
I've yet to hear Kirby Smart say, yeah, we're going after Caremore guy.
Who?
Kirby Smart, head coach at Georgia.
Maybe he should. They all should.
Never heard Coach Saban going for the five-star care guy.
Well, I got news for you. A lot of the coaches I talk to,
Five-star heart
no, not a 5-star heart
with
guy.
with the 10-tier care.
With Butch Jones, no. But you ask anybody, is football important to them? That's why do they play football? Do they love football or do they love what comes with football? That's a real conversation that all these coaches have with these players. And I really believe you go get a Texas kid, as a Texas kid myself, I'm telling you, they love football for the right reasons. I really believe that. Now, I've been around plenty of guys in Alabama, Atlanta, Miami, New Orleans. It depends on the guy. Some guys are all in. Some guys kind of like what football gives them. But I feel like that is the anomaly in Texas. We don't see as much. Football is very important to the culture of Texas. And I think it is here too, for sure. But I think the likelihood of having a guy that's all in out of the state of Texas is pretty dang high. So I'll take my chances there.
But I don't know if the care is that much greater than it is in Atlanta or New Orleans or Miami. Why is the care there more just because the people around it care more?
I've had guys that are from Miami on my team that didn't like football. They just happen to be so good at it. It was absurd. You know what I mean? I had guys from Atlanta, and I'm sure there were guys from Texas. I didn't have any on my team, but we didn't have a lot of Texans on my team, to be honest with you. We had a lot of guys from Alabama, and we had a lot of guys from Georgia, and a bunch of guys from Mississippi. But there's a lot of guys that don't like football. I think there's one that was on your list from Tennessee a little earlier that doesn't like football, but just happens to be outrageously good at it.
Well, Jeremiah Love told us earlier this year he doesn't watch film. He's had to make himself start watching film because he's just kind of into a lot of other things.
Yeah, he likes Pokemon,
so
not football.
There are guys like that out there.
There's a ton of them, and it's not a bad thing. It's just that's not the type of guy I want. I'd take Jeremiah Love on my team any day. He doesn't like football at all. Doesn't care about it. But to me, it's really important. Like, you got to love football. You got to be a junkie.
Well, retirement is also something that's important and something that you need to be paying attention to, specifically if you're less than 10 years away from it. And now we're going to give you some added value here on Jocks. I'd like to introduce you to our friend and wealth advisor, Tad Hill, your trusted retirement planning partner. Tad, co-host of the Retire with Freedom radio and TV shows in Birmingham and Huntsville, also been designated by Forbes as the #1 financial securities professional in the state of Alabama multiple years running. Tad, what do you have for us today?
Thanks, Cole. What I'd like to do today is talk about something that none of us really like to think about, which is market volatility. And particularly as you near retirement, it's very important that you're not overexposed to risk with too much of your investment money, because for most of you, you're going to need that money to live on. If you've got too much risk in your investments and we go through a big market downturn, and you're pulling money out at the same time, now you're having to sell when markets are down to pay your bills. That's called sequence of returns risk. That and the strategies on how to insulate you from that, we cover in our Retire with Freedom course that we do at our office on Valley Dell Road. If you would like to attend the next
Welcome back here, McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. 8:53 Thursday, March 13th, right here on Jocks 94.5. Appreciate you tuning in. Dwight Perry joining us at the top of the hour. Wofford head basketball coach has his team in the NCAA tournament for the 16th time. Not him individually, but the program has been 16 times. And discussing recruiting, where would you, if you could only have one city, want to recruit from? We have debated those. Greg says Houston. Jeremy Todd tweeting into the show, at Mac and Cube. You can always be a part of the show there. He tweets in, it's Tampa. IMG alone, probably better than most Metroplexes. That is a fair cheat code to throw in there. By the way, hand raised if you knew IMG was in Tampa.
Didn't know that. No idea.
I thought South Carolina for some reason.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was like Sarasota.
I definitely thought it was like the Lauderdale area. Dave Shumate tweets in, at Mac and Cube, Jimbo Fisher used to say that Texas players were softer than Florida kids. Said it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Probably why he got his ass fired from A&M.
Yeah. I can tell you one thing. Texas might have a lot, but soft ain't part of it. I do think that there are some soft kids, but I don't think that's the majority.
Walker Hayes tweets
By the way,
in,
who's hard? If Florida's soft and Texas is soft, it's two of the best states in the country for high school football. Who's not soft? Georgia?
Yeah, I mean, I guess then the rest of them are then. I mean, I'll say this. You can question the care about football, but based on the guys that I played with from the state of Florida, soft was never part of that vocabulary.
Not to say. I didn't have a lot of issues
specifically
with
off the field. Actually, more specifically off the field. Soft was not the way that any of those individuals would be described.
Yeah.
Including the ones that could not go back to their hometowns because of things.
Yeah, I've never been around a soft Floridian player. Now, we didn't recruit a lot of guys from,
like you said,
Naples.
Football motivation.
Yeah.
How into it, how detail oriented. Sure, you could say that about a couple guys, but ability to be messed with was not something that came up very often with those guys.
Yeah.
That wasn't a real thing. Walker Hayes tweets in, best city for high school is DFW. I watched the 6A games in Jared World and North Crowley High School. It's the best team I ever watched in person. They beat the best 7A Bama school by 3 or 4 touchdowns.
It's the best high school teams for sure. Like I can't say it's the most talent. I can't say individual players, but best coaching and best resources, Dallas-Fort Worth's the best.
Jolly tweets in, heard my hometown region mentioned. Hampton Roads, Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Chesapeake, Hampton, Portsmouth. We have some decent players come out of there.
Really
all
good.
Sports. Yeah, that was why I was in the conversation.
Yeah. He said some?
Lot.
A whole heap.
Mikey Walker tweets in, Greg is right, at Mac and Cube with Athletes Football Connecticut. Hey, Dwight Freeney, Bill Romanowski, you didn't want to mess with those dudes.
Cool. 35 years ago.
Eugene Robinson, as long as it wasn't like Super Bowl week. Dwight Perry, Wofford head basketball coach, joining us next. Thursday, March 13th, 9 a.m., Jocks 94.5. The madness continues as we have a lot more college football to discuss, and we will come back to that. SEC quarterback battles will continue that conversation. I think we hit one. We'll try to go back to a few more. Wimp Sanderson, the coach, with us at 9:30. We'll have Dwight Perry, Wofford head basketball coach, here in just a moment. First, Greg, tell our listeners about Shannara Flooring.
Shannara Flooring has done such a great job of creating a contractor that can be trusted, that you will absolutely take great care of. Your home, when he comes in your home, he treats it like it's yourself. It's amazing. When you see what Fu and his company can do for you. They have 40,000 square feet of flooring in stock. This is Core-Tech flooring. It's 100% waterproof, kid-proof, pet-proof. It's great for kitchens, laundry rooms, bathrooms, everywhere throughout your home. It will increase the value of your home, and you'll be very, very glad that you went with Fu and his company at Shannara Flooring. So if you're thinking about making some changes to your floors, call who? Call Fu. Call them at 205-518-6423, or you can go online at fuandyou.com.
The Wofford Terriers win the SoCon Conference to make their 16th NCAA tournament appearance. The last one was in 2019, 1-5 all time in that tournament, 19-15 this year. Dwight Perry, head coach of the Wofford Terriers, joins us now. Coach, there are a lot of things to discuss with your team. There's a lot of things to discuss with you. There's a lot of things to be excited about. I cannot start this interview another way than to ask you about how we got where we are with Kyler Filewich and shooting free throws underhanded. I was watching you guys play Sanford earlier this year. Heard the story that he was struggling a little bit, tried this technique. I believe that was his second game that he had been attempting free throws this way. Can you just give us a little extra background on exactly how your big man, who, by the way, 11-9 on the season, so almost averaging a double-double. He's a great player for you. Got to where he is with his free throw attempts.
Yeah, no, he's first and foremost, I think what usually gets overlooked by a lot of people is how good of a player Kyler is. I mean, he's an all-conference player. He's the best big in our league. And not only can he score and rebound, which, by the way, he has the single season. He now holds the single season record for rebounds in our program's history. He's a great passer. He leads our team in assists. He's a really good defender. So, I mean, I think what's easy to get overlooked is how good of a basketball player Kyler is. Having said that, I think, for around the last 10 to 13 games, he has switched to that technique. And him shooting traditionally at the free throw line was just, it wasn't working out well. And, Kyler, to his credit, the only thing Kyler cares about is winning. And so, he came to the coaching staff and he basically said he didn't want to be the reason why we didn't, win if we were capable of being the best that we could be. And so he was open to a change. One of the assistant coaches on our staff has a relationship with one of Rick Barry's sons. They both played at Georgia Tech different times, and so they have a relationship. And so Rick Barry was kind enough to come out and really help and impart his wisdom, not just on Kyler's underhand, not on the underhand free throw technique, but again, Rick Barry is one of the 50 greatest players of all time. In addition to being the all-time career leader in free throw percentage in the NBA, he's one of the best players that ever walked this earth. And so just the overall game of basketball wisdom and knowledge he could, impart on Kyler and the rest of our team was huge. But he was really instrumental in helping with the technique and giving Kyler some pointers. And to his credit, man, Kyler's responded. He made 2 big-time free throws at the end of our game in the championship that really helped us secure the victory, and couldn't be more proud.
Looking at your team, Coach, back in the tournament for the first time since 2019, you're back in the big dance for the first time in nearly 2 decades. You'd been in there a bunch, right? I mean, you'd seen it before, but it's kind of crazy to think it's been this long for you, Coach. So knowing that it's been only a matter of time for you now running this program to get back, what was that wait like and the buildup like to get back to this moment and winning a championship this past weekend?
No, it's huge. I think, it's just like anything else in life. I think sometimes when you would get to experience different events and different accomplishments a lot, I think it's only human nature that you start to take it for granted, and not intentionally, but I think sometimes that can be subconscious as well. And, right, wrong, or indifferent, I would definitely, say I was guilty of that. was fortunate enough to play in it as a player at the University of Kentucky and was fortunate enough to be a part of it as a GA and then as a video coordinator on the staff at VCU. And then, during the last 11 years, during my time as an assistant at Furman first and then at Wofford, I had not experienced being in an NCAA tournament. And so, yeah, it's definitely, it has felt like a long time. It's felt like an eternity. And anyone who has participated in the NCAA tournament or has watched it knows, I mean, it's nothing like it. It's one of the most special sporting events in all of sports, not just of basketball. And so, yeah, I'm really appreciative to be back into it, but even more than for myself, I'm excited for our guys because the hard work that our entire program, our coaches, our players, our managers, our training support staff, they deserve this opportunity, and it's a really cool opportunity, and I'm just looking forward to seeing them take it in and relish, the moment that we have to continue playing and being together with this group.
Dwight Perry, Wofford head basketball coach, joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline, making their 16th NCAA tournament appearance. We talk about must-have moments a lot, coach, in sports, whether it's a short yardage situation in football, could be an approach shot in golf, a big at bat in basketball, or obviously a pitcher handling that situation. You guys get in this tournament, the only way you're going to the big dance is to win it. Then you get in the championship game, and you score 55 in the second half. That's the most in any half against a SoCon opponent. You also go on a 13-2 run over the last 2:33 of the game. Number one, what does it say about your team in that moment to be able to turn that on? And how did you find that offense this late in the season?
It was great. I think for us, it's really huge. I'm going to be honest. This is where, I'd be lying if I said, going into the game, I knew we were going to shoot 50% from three and 60% from two. But that's what's cool about basketball. That's what's great and special about our guys is, when faced with an adversity and on the biggest stage of the year, our guys not only responded, but they rose to the occasion. And so I think for us, we play an exciting style of ball. Our guys share the ball. They're extremely unselfish. We have a lot of weapons. We don't just rely on one person. And so because of that, I think at times it can be a little difficult to kind of try to pinpoint who you exactly have to stop in order for us not to be an effective team because we have a lot of different weapons. And obviously, all five of our starters were in double figures in the championship game, but, we were still able to get major contributions from, our bench and, all three of those guys, Jeremy Lorenz, Kamari Holmes, Luke Flynn off the bench were also huge in that game. And so it was an overall team effort, and I'm really excited to see who we get a chance to play. It's going to be obviously a tall task to get that done no matter who it is, but I think our guys will definitely be up for the challenge.
Coach, what do you think about this time frame between when you secure your bid and when you find out what you're going to be playing against? How do you prepare? Do you start just overall looking at yourself? Hey, this is an area where we can improve. I know you kind of are who you are at this point, but how do you handle that break between when you punch your ticket and when you find out your opponent?
Yeah, I think it's actually great. I think it's pretty difficult when some of the leagues you go from like playing Saturday and Sunday this weekend, and then you turn right back around, that day or the next day, and you have the selection show, and then you got to basically get ready, and there's no break, not only physically, but these games take such a mental and emotional toll. So, we played Monday night. We took Tuesday and Wednesday off. So today will be the first time our guys will be back in the gym today. And so we'll kind of build back up. We won't do anything too crazy. To your point, there's definitely areas we can tweak. I don't think you're going to make any wholesale changes to try to revamp how you play on either side. But we definitely are taking advantage of this opportunity to not only get back to a good place physically, but mentally and emotionally, let our guys recharge and reset. And then obviously we'll have a couple practices leading into Sunday, figure out who we play. And then from there, it'll kind of take more of a traditional week of preparation where obviously, we'll have a couple practices. We'll kind of focus more on the other team a little bit, and then we'll go to our destination and let the chips fall.
We're visiting with Dwight Perry, Wofford head basketball coach on the Higginbotham Hotline. He's got the Terriers in the NCAA tournament, winning the SoCon Conference tournament. Coach, on November 24th, you went to bed at 2-5. You went down to Portland State that day. What was your approach when you woke up Monday morning? What did you alter anything? Did you have a new message? Did you try to change things around? Because obviously now we're sitting here talking to you today because you're going to the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, that was, I'll be honest, that was one of the lower points of our season. And, looking back, it's funny because, right, you don't have the perspective sometimes in the moment to know. But, like, we played a Thanksgiving tournament against St. Thomas, Milwaukee, and Portland State. And all three of those teams, right, are really good. All of them finished, I believe, top 4 in their respective leagues. And if I'm not even mistaken, I think all of them may have even finished top 3. But as it stands, it was a really good mid-major tournament. And all 3 games, we led at the under 4 media. And unfortunately, we went 1-2. And so to your point, we were 2-5. And the toughest part is we all said it. Our players, our coaches, we all felt it. We were 2-5, and we didn't feel like we were a 2-5 team, right? And out of those 5 losses, 2 of them were in the Thanksgiving tournament. One was to Duke. One was to Lipscomb, who won their conference, right, in their conference tournament. And one was the Presbyterian, who finished, right, middle of the pack, 5th in the Big South. And those are all 5 teams that are really good. But, again, no one really cares. And at the end of the day, whether you feel like you're 2-5 or not, or you should be, you are. But, that was a tough trip back home from Milwaukee to South Carolina. But I also think it hardened us and it sharpened our sword, so to speak, and it made us more resilient because that was a form of adversity, and we talked about it as a program. And what we did was immediately after that, we had some of the better practices you talked about. Did we change anything? We did. We shortened our practice times, right, the duration we were on the court, but we were way more intentional, and I credit our staff. Our staff did a great job thinking this is what we kind of needed to pivot to. We were shorter as far as the duration of practice, but we were way more intentional and way more intense and way more edgy in our practices. And it wasn't bad. It wasn't mean. It wasn't negative. It was competitive. It was chippy. And I think if you asked our guys, it probably was more enjoyable and more fun. And our guys responded. We beat North Alabama, who tied with Lipscomb, for the ASUN right after that trip. And we beat them by 20 points. And so, again, by no means were we perfect from then on out. But, to your point, I definitely think that period of time, which was a form of adversity, helped shape us into being the team we ultimately became at the end of the year.
Is that rare nowadays, Coach? I mean, you and I and Cole were all close in age. I mean, adversity used to be the best thing for a team's advancement and allowing them to refocus. Yeah. But I feel like guys now, because of the transactional nature of the sport, the investment that they have in the place isn't as much, so they're not quite as likely to persevere. Are we misreading that, or is that harder to find nowadays?
No, you're not misreading it at all. And I think the really unfortunate part of the whole process and the landscape is, I think, in my opinion, kids will always be like that, right? Naturally, I just think it's human nature as a young person to avoid, right, the hard times, to try to take shortcuts, to try not to deal with adversity. That's naturally how kids are. I think the toughest part, in my opinion, of what I see is I think parents are enabling that behavior and enabling that type of lack of accountability as well. And so that's the toughest part, is not only are you dealing with kids who don't want to deal with that, but now you're also dealing with parents that aren't reinforcing, in my opinion, the proper message all the time. Again, when it's done, like we all know, when it's done in a healthy way and you're pushing kids to work through adversity and deal with tough times and deal with failure and push through and work harder in healthy, constructive ways, like you just said, that's the best thing for any person, not even in sports, in life. And, through this transactional nature that you spoke on, I think that that period of time also has allowed us, our entire coaching staff, to be more convicted and doubling down in that message. And we've been really intentional about telling our guys and teaching our guys, like, when you hit these tough times, and again, we hit tough times later in the year, like, this is a form of adversity. And we said at the beginning of the season, before the year started, the mentally toughest team, the team that was going to be the mentally toughest in our league was going to win. And we reiterated that message at the start of the conference tournament. Whichever team was going to be the mentally toughest team was going to win. And the only way you can be mentally tough, though, is you have to be stretched and you have to be pushed and you have to go through adversity in order to be mentally tough. You can't just show up being mentally tough without having to go through adversity. That's not how it works. And so I think for us, not to get long-winded, like you can't just accept that you have to deal with adversity. I think you have to embrace adversity. And when you embrace it, that's you understanding it's going to happen. There's no avoiding it, and you have to meet it head on. And I credit our guys, again, like you said, in an era, in a day and age where kids buck that, our guys didn't blink and they didn't fight it. And I'm really fortunate because I think we're reaping the benefits of it now.
Coach, I think you got some new fans of your basketball team after hearing that. So I know I'll be rooting for you. We want to see you do well. Wish you the best in the NCAA tournament and hope you'll join us again sometime.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Dwight Perry, Wofford head basketball coach, joining us on the Higginbotham hotline, heading to the NCAA tournament. And kind of cool to hear his perspective on a couple of different things with how he has managed his basketball team. And as I stated, they start out 2-5. So the end of November, you're sitting there a couple of games below 500, and you have to reevaluate some things. And then speaking of reevaluating things, Kyler Filewich, their forward center, averaging 11.9, 9.4 per game, had to reevaluate his free throw shooting and decided to go underhand and is shooting free throws that way. So you'll get that in the NCAA tournament with this Wofford Terrier basketball team. They're a fun watch for a lot of different reasons. As he said, they share the ball. A lot of guys that can hurt you in different ways, but cool to get his perspective and hear about his basketball team as they head to the NCAA tournament. I have some more information on IMG that you may find a little bit surprising. First, I want to tell you about Game Day Men's Health. If you are feeling on edge, getting poor sleep, could be the effects of low testosterone. If you have lack of energy, same thing. You can feel better. Game Day Men's Health is offering a no-charge consultation that includes a free testosterone and free PSA test. Struggling with weight loss, they have multiple programs that they can help you out with for that. And you can save 10% on any service they offer by mentoring McElroy and Cubelic in the morning when you stop by Game Day Men's Health. When you go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com and schedule that consultation, it's free. They're going to give you multiple paths that they can help you and your health. Holistic approach to health and wellness. Locker room feel, no stress, stress-free environment. They just want to help, not going to push you in anything that you don't need, and a minimal upfront cost for the programs that they offer. Book your free consultation today at GameDayMen'sHealth.com. That's GameDayMen'sHealth.com. I know where it is. I also know how much it costs to attend. We'll discuss IMG Academy next on Mac and Cube in the morning. Thursday, March 13th, 9:21. Wimp Sanderson in 9 minutes. A current SEC coach has tied Wimp in a historical statistic. We'll tell you that when we visit with the coach a little bit later. We mentioned IMG Academy. It is in the Tampa area, Bradenton, Florida. So that would be a little bit of a nice cheat code there, as one of our listeners was going to a little bit earlier.
It's not a bad play.
Jeremy Todd tweeted that in.
You got some good players at Plant.
A couple.
And some other schools.
Yes. Upon researching that, I did find some other things about IMG. If you would like to send your child to IMG, you can do that. You don't have to be
Randy Recruit.
Yeah, him.
Rachel Recruit.
Trying to think of a
Carl Kruder.
Carl Kruder.
Evan Neal.
Freddie 5-star.
IMG guy. I'm trying to think of some IMG guys right offhand. If you would like to send your child to play football at IMG, and yes, it is, the tuition is based via sport. There are two prices, boarding and day school.
Ah.
I will allow you guys to choose the annual tuition for either if you would like. Day school, how much you think, Greg? Just to send
17,000. Higher?
Just a smidge.
35.
No.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Try 74.9.
What?
Now, if they also needed to be boarded, so I guess essentially if you're not moving your entire family down there to let them play ball at IMG and not compete for a state championship.
What if they're not good?
That's probably why folks are paying the money to allow them to do this.
To get good?
Or pretend like they're good?
Because if there's one thing that I've known.
Because you're getting recruited at IMG no matter what, right?
But there's one thing that I've known is that if you're not good, you can buy talent.
Hell yeah.
What are we doing?
Yankees have lived off of it for years.
Yeah.
Worked out for Florida State last year.
2 years ago.
What are we doing?
If you need boarding, that's going to cost you $95,900 a year.
Wait, hang on a second. So that's not bad rent. 74 to 95, 12 months.
21 grand.
21 grand. I'll take that.
I'm assuming that
area?
includes food also.
You have to share it though. Is it a 1-bedroom studio?
Yeah, but that's for the kid, not the family.
I haven't seen the dormitory outlay. I'll let you know if I find it.
Think they have a nap pod?
I would not be that surprised if IMG has had to have the discussion with parents, hey, you cannot live in the fancy dorms that we have alongside your kids.
You're not allowed to live here.
I bet you that's actually a conversation that's probably had to happen.
We don't have the cottages like Augusta National does that you can stay in. Now, here is where it gets really interesting. So once you've paid all of that, you got some fixed fees you got to worry about at IMG. Competition fee, Greg. Because competing costs money, right?
Yep.
$10,650. There's also a student activity fee, $400.
Mm-hmm.
Health services fee, $550.
$550.
United States Health Insurance, inquire. There is a new student fee of $650, an international new student fee of $1,100, an international returning fee of $350, and a senior fee of $450.
Whew, those tariffs hitting hard.
Also have to make a medical deposit of $400.
Oh, that's a rounding error.
That's a deposit. That's fine. You'll get that back.
Would you imagine that? I mean, listen, it's located at Bollettieri Drive, formerly the Bollettieri Academy, which was created for tennis. But would you imagine? I would think, I don't know. I would think basketball would be the most expensive because there are fewer spots, right? And a lot of people want to do it.
No,
maybe.
Not an expensive sport.
No.
I'm thinking
lacrosse, probably. That's an expensive sport.
96.9 with boarding.
I'm thinking tennis.
Ooh, do they have golf? Because I feel like that's expensive.
Oh, yeah. You got golf.
I'm thinking tennis.
Golf with boarding, $102,900 a year.
Ooh.
Okay.
Well, of course you
Now, the
play.
competition fee is only $2,000 as opposed to $10,000.
Oh, okay.
So big savings there.
So the competition is soft is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
If you're cinching Gregory Golfer down there. Tennis, Greg? If Tammy Tennis wants to go to IMG Academy,
Yeah.
$96,900 with boarding.
It's a not
Competition fee of just $4,200. But yeah, you get tennis, you think about the fact though, individual coaching takes more time. I would have thought that probably, but you need more coaches in football also.
Yeah.
They do have a lacrosse team, John. 95.9 a year.
Yeah.
That's it.
So golf's the highest.
Wait.
Sounds
So lacrosse costs as much as football?
Wait, have we done basketball? Is that what I just did?
No, you haven't done basketball yet.
Basketball, 96.9.
Yeah. Team sports are not going to be as high.
Huh. So more for basketball, like 1,000, but still more. Interesting.
Baseball, also 96.9. To attend IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida.
Sounds like all the
Track and field, they also have just a performance.
just athlete.
I think
Oh, for the drama kids?
95.9.
That feels like the standard rate.
What are you going to IMG for? Perform?
Yes.
Maybe they're so good at creating athletes, they think they can also now begin to create theater people as well.
I like that.
What do you go to IMG for, Thespian? What sport? Acting.
I really don't judge. I really don't have any problem with IMG collecting these checks from folks.
Well, the issue is how many checks are they actually collecting? Like how many kids are actually paying to go to school there?
Well, it's just, here's the thing. If you are one of the kids that is paying to go to school
who was the Ole Miss Michigan quarterback?
Shea Patterson.
Yeah, when Shea Patterson left Louisiana 2 weeks before his senior year, I doubt that his parents said, "Here you go."
Yeah.
95,000.
But don't you realize that if you're paying for your kid to go to school there, you are funding everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else that's on the
as
team.
is Nike, as is Gatorade, as is
You also, if
Penn,
you're paying,
as is
how likely
Slozinger, whoever else is sponsoring all this.
how
guys.
likely is it that these kids are playing if they are full tuition students?
Well, when they go up 40, they are.
That's great.
Which probably happens on a fairly regular basis, especially in certain sports.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Whatever happened to just representing your hometown?
They also have just an academy, John.
I bet you their sell, though, is, hey, it'll pay for itself. And
What do you have? What
one
do you?
NIL
What are you
deal.
going to IMG for? Schooling, grades. That'll cost you $56,400, by the way, just to go to school.
Just grades?
Just school.
It's probably good school.
Do you think that maybe they send some broadcasters there? Because isn't that what IMG, like
Wow.
Luke at IMG?
Wow, it's actually not a terrible idea. And you go call their games.
Yeah.
Hey, if you want to be the best at working on blowout material, come to IMG.
You get a lot of practice.
No school blows out more teams than we do.
Yes.
76-40, fourth quarter.
I can't wait for broadcasters to get schools like this. We should open our own broadcast school. Be ripping.
$95,000 a year boarding.
Yeah, you can live.
Put them on an Airbnb in Bessemer. Welcome in, guys.
Big Bessemer.
Today, late game blowout material. How do you find it? Where do you get it? How do you treat it? Tomorrow, fourth down calls. All right, we'll be back with Wimp Sanderson next. Welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. We are going to move from IMG Academy over to basketball. I'll talk to Coach Sanderson here in just a moment. Before we do that, Greg, tell our listeners about Crocker Moving Services.
They're a local company owned by an Iraq War veteran, Eric Crocker. Crocker believes in hiring movers you can trust, complete full background checks, and run drug tests on every single employee. These are good guys, and you can trust them in your home. When they need your whole home packed up and moved, your company headquarters moved across country, or you just want them to come rearrange your living room, these guys got you covered. They also do deliveries for furniture that you've purchased and need to get to your home. So call or visit them online today for a free quote. The website is crockermovingservices.com. That's crockermovingservices.com. Support your veterans by choosing Crocker Moving Services for your next move.
He joins us each and every week, usually a little bit earlier than this. Had to move him because we were able to get Dwight Perry on the show at 9, who's got his team in the NCAA tournament. He's been in the NCAA tournament multiple times. Thanks to Coke and Piggly Wiggly, it's the coach, Wimp Sanderson.
You two are my own.
Yeah, we got you.
You two guys lost hundreds of listeners by moving me to 9:30.
Probably thousands.
Millions.
Actually, we were trying to stretch them out and keep them on longer, waiting for you to hop on. Coach, did you know that you were another SEC coach tied you last night?
Tied me for what?
Most SEC tournament wins. You are now even with John Calipari.
Yeah. You know why?
Because he cheats.
No.
Why?
Because he was a head coach longer. Been a head coach much longer than me.
Do you remember how many you had?
No, but I got in there when I was the head coach. I got in there 10 out of 12 times.
25 SEC tournament wins, Coach. Only two individuals have more than you ever.
Well, I didn't get where I wanted to get. We got beat in the final 16. So
I'm going the other way with that, Coach. I'm going that it's pretty impressive that only two guys have more tournament wins than you do. Billy Donovan only has two more, and Adolph Rupp lapped the field.
Yeah, I just know that there are a lot of Alabama fans when I was doing it. I had a couple of writers, some of them's on your show, that knocked me naked, hid my clothes.
Call them out. Who was it? We won't have them on anymore.
No, you'll have them on.
No, I won't. Tell me who it was. We'll have a talk with them on the air.
I don't want. That's okay. Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about getting ready to play in the SEC. SEC tournament's important.
Coach, we have writers that call us out, and they believe that the only way to be a good coach in this state is if you score more points in the second half than the first half.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's okay. I'm just bull crapping you. I'm fine.
But furthermore, how did Adolph Rupp win 57 tournament games?
Championship game is. Let me tell you when the championship game is in the SEC. Let me tell both of you this: the championship game is the SEC in the SEC. Is the first sentence I tell my team is tonight. It is the night you play. It is not Sunday afternoon. It is the night you play. We ought to be thrilled to be here. There's 68 of them here, and tonight is the championship game. So get that in your heads, because they're going to be playing somebody that's not if you got a great seed, you're going to play somebody that everybody says you're going to beat by 50. So I want my guys to understand the mental part of it is tonight. And if they beat you by 1, you're 88 and out the gate and on the bus home. Then your basketball team has to be ready to play. There are some teams that spring break falls there. Some of their guys who are just playing a little bit and they're mad at the coach to start with. Don't care whether you win or lose. I made darn sure that we got that. The SEC tournament was big to me. You may say round robin is bigger. You can say whatever you want to. We played everybody home and home. We didn't go to Kentucky every now and then. We went every year home and home. And we had great players, great teams, and as hard as it was today, tournament-wise. Of course, there's 16 teams, and a little bit different now. But it was you could not win. You could not win on the road at our place when you went on the road. It was brutal. And so I look forward to the tournament, and I think the tournament's a big deal. I think basketball is a tournament game, more so than any other sport. And it should should be an exciting time. I think Auburn and Alabama have done terrific. A lot of the other teams in the league have done in the state have done real well as well.
You have said that multiple times about basketball being a tournament game. What does that mean, Coach?
Well, I just think that you're looking to see who you're playing and who you're going to play. Let's look at the team that you might play when you're fixing to play. When you're fixing to win your first game, if you can, who you're going to play next. So it kind of makes it fun for the listeners. The transfer portal has entered into it now, Greg, more than ever before. Can you imagine that a transfer from Kentucky, from Oklahoma, played Kentucky, scored 28 points, and beat Oklahoma by 1 point? And now Oklahoma and Kentucky are playing each. He just left Oklahoma 28 points wise, and that's what happened.
What do you think will be most important deciding this specific SEC tournament? Aspect of a team, aspect of a coach, player individually, style of play. What's going to be most important with the teams in this field that are left?
Take it one game at a time. Take it one game at a time. If you've got a good team, if you don't have, I did what I did because I had good players. I feel like I managed them well. Maybe I didn't at times, but I think players win games, football and basketball. Coaches help. They may help lose. They may help win. But players win the cotton picking games. If I get an opportunity to run a play and a guy shoots a 15-foot jump shot and he misses it, it's his fault. So they do that. So I think just being ready to play each and every night, being smart, getting rest. I was the last basketball team to ever go to the tournament. Back then, we played the tournament on home courts. I got to go to Vanderbilt. I went at Nashville. I kicked Robert Ory off the team the night before, and I go to Nashville.
Did you let him back?
We go to the game. We go to the tournament, and I had suspended. That's pretty stupid on my part. I suspended him, and we go to the game. We go and we play Florida. The opening game with Lon Kruger's a great coach. We're down 17. We go in the dressing room. Everybody's mad at everybody, and I'm mad at myself. And so we come back and fight like a Dickens. We win it, beat Auburn the next game. We play Tennessee in the finals and win the championship there. And so some of my players are saying, Coach, you know, when you were ready to let Robert in that second game, we had bets on how long it would be before he put him in. And it wasn't long before I put him in. So anyway, we played at Kentucky. We played at one there. We played at Nashville. We at Knoxville. We won those two. We played at Atlanta. We won that. We won a lot of games. But but I'm not sitting here bragging. I'm just telling you we were ready to play. The SEC tournament meant a lot to us. There's some coaches who may, it doesn't mean so much. I'm probably going to get in anyway. And it may not this year because there's a big not a stink, but a big thought about maybe them getting as many as 14 teams in. I don't know that they will. There's two teams I know for sure that won't get in. But outside of that, the other 14, I don't know who's going to get in and who's not. So, you know, I'm telling you some stuff that I think is pretty interesting to people who really like SEC tournament.
What do you, Coach? Outside the SEC tournament, we talked a little bit earlier in the week about automatic bids. Should it be the conference tournament or the regular season champion that gets that in the smaller leagues?
I think that's a good question. I think it's in the smaller leagues. It's really tough on you to lose and not get in maybe at all. And I don't know. I probably should be round robin maybe in some of the other leagues, but besides SEC. When here's what happened. When I was coaching, I hate to go back to that, but it's all I can do. I'm older than dirt. The champion of the SEC was considered the tournament champion back when I coached. And they stopped and gave you a trophy, and you had your picture made, and all your players on your team got a ring. And we used the ring as motivation a little bit. So that's what they did. Whether that's right or wrong, I don't know. Both of you would probably say round robin, and I won't argue with that. But I think the tournament lays into it as well. So I think in the smaller conferences it's darn hard. I think Samford is so darn good. I hope Bucky can win it, win it there. And so, I think it's a good question. And unfortunately, I don't really have a very good answer. Both of you guys probably have an answer in your own mind, and both of you would probably say round robin.
I think I would, but I am curious your thought process, Coach, as it relates to some of the teams like you referenced, Bucky. Excuse me, they didn't get in. And look, it is what it is. They lost their tournament. Wofford ends up winning it. I believe they were the 6th seed or whatever it was. And it doesn't feel right, but I also at the same time appreciate the do or die nature of the sport. So is it better to enhance the value of the regular season by rewarding the regular season champion with an automatic berth, or is it better rewarding the tournament champion with an automatic berth?
I think in the smaller leagues, if you want to call it smaller, I don't mean the leagues that you go in their place.
Yeah, they're mid majors. It's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's the truth.
You may want to go to the round robin. I just know that Bucky can coach them so well, and it's a darn shame. It's like the other night in a basketball game with the clock running out. There's no seconds, 1 second on the clock. The cotton picker official calls a foul. The guy that calls the foul and got beat by one still crying. Well, shit, the foul shouldn't have been called. Wasn't no foul to it, and it's just things. There are things like that bother you. And y'all ask good questions. I mess with you when I say hundreds of listeners left because I wouldn't know. That's not true. But I think you're both of you. You understand basketball is. I got on the show to listen to you just a little bit today about free throw shooting. And most of you, I don't know if you know this, but for a long time, there were lady free throw shooters that shot that way. Their ball's a little bit smaller. Their routine at the line is a little bit better. And they made free throws, their free throw percentage went up. So that's what happened when, what's-his-name, started shooting free throws underneath. And he shot them well. He's a great player, but he got to the line, and for whatever reason, he didn't shoot it as well because he shot better on the move. And you're not on the move at the free throw line. So those are things that come up that I thought you mentioned today.
Well, we appreciate the time, Coach, and we know each and every week you're brought to us by Coke and Piggly Wiggly.
Well, Coke and Piggly Wiggly are great products. Coke is. I've been drinking them for a long time. I can't think of any other drink that I'd rather have than Coke. And that's the truth. When I first got the job at Alabama, Coke was my after-game sponsor. And Piggly Wiggly, I had lunch with Stanley. Stanley bought my lunch yesterday. Stanley Vasiglio owns and runs Piggly Wiggly, and they're great people. I took Stanley on a lot of my trips, so he sat on our bench. So Piggly Wiggly's big. I appreciate Andy and Stanley sponsoring us. Appreciate you guys having us on, and I'll talk to you next week and tell you what's going to go on in NCAA. I'm not going to be shocked. I'm not going to be totally shocked if they don't know what they're going to eliminate just 2 teams today or this weekend, and there might be 14. I thought 10 or 11 in the SEC. There might be 14 of those Booger Bears in there. Later.
Could be.
Bye.
Coach, we appreciate the time. Thank you, Coach. That's the Coach Wimp Sanderson joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. Going to go to break quickly before we do that, Greg. Tell our listeners about Bromberg's.
Bromberg's had a great experience when I've walked in the door and shopped with the amazing people at Bromberg's. You'll see it for yourself. The second you walk in the door, you're going to feel like you're in good hands. You're going to feel like you're going to work with someone that's trusted, that's going to give you good, sound advice, that's going to point you in the right direction to pick out a piece that could last multiple generations. Go and see them and get that natural diamond. Get that piece of custom jewelry. They have a custom jeweler that they employ that is amazing. They do, just a craftsman, does an amazing job. They have all sorts of options, yellow gold, white gold, platinum settings, all kinds of things. And that natural diamond that is off the charts beautiful with watches and even gifts. Whatever it is you're looking for, you can find it at Bromberg's in Mountain Brook Village and at the Summit.
I have an all-timer for you when we come back in the Bad Box Score of the Day next. 9:51 Thursday, March 13th, right here on Jocks 94.5. There will be no automatic bids handed out today. Montana got that from the Big Sky yesterday, 91-83. Monty Williams, 7 points, the leading scorer off the bench for Northern Colorado, who went down. Montana's now 14-1 over their last 15 games, 25-9 on the season. They are going to the NCAA tournament.
Bill Smith Buick GMC is the GMC Dealer of the Year. You'll understand why when you walk on the lot, you'll see an inventory that is better than anyone in the entire Southeast. There's a reason why they sell more vehicles than anyone in the Southeast, and there's a reason why General Motors has acknowledged them as their Dealer of the Year 5 straight years. It's incredible to think the national champion is just a short drive up the road from us here in Birmingham. You can go get yourself a 2025 Buick Encore GX. It's a sporty little SUV. $28,725 is the list price. You take $6,500 off that list price. You get it for $22,225. It's deals like that keep people coming back. That's why 75% of their business repeat customers. It's because you have a better experience when you shop with Bill Smith. Take a short drive to Coleman. You'll be glad you did. You can also shop online. Have it delivered right to your driveway at BillSmithBuickGMC.com.
All right, bad box scores of the day. Also, the Southland final went to McNeese, and the Patriot final. McNeese making their 4th NCAA tournament appearance. They are 19-1 in conference this year. 4th Southland Conference tournament win. Back-to-back conference titles for the first time ever. 11-game win streak, 22-1 in their last 23. Greg took Navy in the Patriot final yesterday.
Okay.
They lost 74-52. They shot 35% from the field, 4 of 20 from 3. But when the Americans shoot 52% from 3, 11 to 25, you're going to be in good shape.
Where at least I know I'm free.
Wow.
I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me.
Wow.
First NCAA tournament appearance since 2014 for the Americans. It's American U, that is. Not you personally, but the university.
Obviously, no, he chose against us.
Correct. All right, yesterday in college baseball, the Kansas
That'd be the Jayhawks?
took down the Minnesota
Timberwolves.
Nope.
Oh.
Gophers.
Lynx.
Minnesota Golden Gophers at U.S. Bank Stadium, by the way.
Sold out crowd. All right.
Kansas Jayhawks actually hit a couple field goals in this game. If you go watch the home runs that they hit, essentially right to where the goalpost would be. Should have left them up.
Love that.
Kansas just snuck past Minnesota 29-1 yesterday.
That's it?
Kansas goes to 15-2, Minnesota 7-8. They did it in 7 innings, and they did it without scoring a run in the first inning.
Not great.
I'll give him a head start.
So from a scoring perspective, Kansas went 0, 5, 8, 3, 8, 1, 4. Minnesota led 1-0 after the first.
What more could you ask for?
Then they took it personally.
Here's how it went in the top of the third.
Oh, boy.
Wisdom tripled to right field. Brooks singled to left center. Smith was hit by a pitch.
Uh-oh.
Then
HBP?
Chase Diggins came to the plate. He homered. Drove in 3. Then Max Solis came to the plate. He homered.
Solis.
At that point in time, Adam Urban
Soloist.
would be replaced on the mound for Cade Capomaccio.
All right.
I think you nailed that.
Capomaccio.
You feel good about that pronunciation?
I do. I also
Love
feel
that.
good about the fact that Brady Council would then come up to bat. On an 0-1 pitch, he would homer. And then Brady Bollinger would come to the plate on a 2-1 pitch.
Is that
he
Brooks
would homer.
Bollinger's son?
Yeah, it's also
Back-to-back
Craig
Brady's.
Council's son.
Okay.
Yeah.
Love that.
They homered 5 consecutive at-bats.
5 straight?
Back to back to back to back to back.
That's Booker T, baby.
That is, and tied for an NCAA record, they're the only 4th team in the history of college baseball to homer in 5 consecutive at-bats. 8 players had a multi-hit game. They hit 7 total home runs in the game.
Put it on him.
Put it on them.
29-1, 5 straight homers. How are you not pegging at least the 3rd, 4th, or 5th player that essentially hit home runs off of you? And by the way, Garrett Wisdom came to the plate next and struck out looking.
Oh, that wasn't smarts.
Looking.
After
5 of your teammates consecutively hit home runs, you watch a 3rd strike go by.
I think you have to.